A golden age is a period when things were the best they ever were. This term is often thrown around by all sorts of media. The most familiar is probably the golden age of comic books. It describes a time when comic book sales were at an all-time high, and most importantly, the cementation of the art form to the mainstream. For those of us who were kids in the 2010s, there was a special era of LEGO video games. It was a time when it seemed like everyone owned a copy of LEGO Marvel Superheroes. When visiting a friend's or family's house, you were almost guaranteed to find that game, or one of the games in this video. This era of LEGO video games not only marked a peak in their popularity, but also introduced some of the most significant innovations that continue to shape LEGO video games today. Today, I'm going to do a deep dive and 100% complete these 6 games, to figure out why this is the most iconic era for LEGO games. For people who are new to the series, this is the 3rd part to a 5-part series, but don't worry, you can watch these in any order. I just chose to cover them in order of release. But let's get things started with LEGO Batman 2 is a sequel to the first LEGO Batman video game. It was released on June 19th, 2012. LEGO Batman 2 is my absolute favorite LEGO game for the longest time. When I was a kid, it was practically my whole world. I adored the DC universe and all of its characters, and I was over the moon that LEGO Batman 2 expanded upon that. Not only that, but this game is a game changer for LEGO games for a multitude of reasons. Anyways, let's dive in. You'll notice the first big change with LEGO Batman 2 as soon as the first cutscene begins. Yes, there is dialogue for the first time in a LEGO game, and it does not feel out of place. It's a very welcome addition that can help enhance the storytelling experience of a LEGO game. And you can tell they were proud of the outcome because the first cutscene is 4 minutes long. Overall, the cast does a phenomenal job voicing the characters, and the cutscenes in general look gorgeous.
We're here to see Lex Luthor.
And you are?
Seriously?
Seriously.
I'm Superman. He's Batman.
Are those last names?
Even his receptionist is evil.
Even though the story isn't anything amazing, it's enough to keep you hooked while playing the game. Although if I had to pick an issue, it would most likely be that for some cutscenes, the characters are animated using motion capture. It just looks so off, and it reminds me of that video John Burton shared on his YouTube channel, where he tried using motion capture for LEGO Star Wars 2. The team thought the cutscenes and story were so good that they turned this film into a direct-to-DVD movie titled LEGO Batman the Movie: DC Superheroes Unite. It was released on May 21st, 2013, and was produced and directed by John Burton. The film remastered the cutscenes and added new ones to help the story flow better. And you bet I was obsessed with this film as a kid. I remember buying it on iTunes and watching it endlessly. Okay, now let's get back on track. The first level in this game is iconic. You play as Batman and Robin and take down his rogues gallery after they crash the award ceremony. It's a memorable and exciting introduction to the game. The first thing I noticed was how amazing the graphics look. The lighting is a huge step up from the last game, and it's hard to believe that this game came before this one. The visuals make the environments and levels a lot more memorable. The theater feels right at home to the Batman universe, and I love how dark the visuals are, but the spotlight of Joker's face is so bright and pops out. Genuinely, the first level might be one of the best looking levels ever put in a LEGO game. And the same can be said about the whole story mode. The level starts with you taking down goons and then having to fight Harley Quinn on the stage. Then you go down to the basement and get introduced to your first suit. You do some puzzles to get to and take down the Riddler. Next, you're in the concessions area with tons of civilians running around. You solve some puzzles to get to and take down Two-Face. Now you're in the camera room and you have to solve puzzles to take down the Joker. This level is amazing. I mean, you fight some of the most iconic Batman villains all in the first level with creative puzzles, fun combat, and an amazing atmosphere. This can be said for almost every level in the game. There are so many iconic levels in this game that will forever be stuck in my brain. They're able to turn even the simplest objectives into something fun, like a majority of the second level, which has you scaling a building to find pieces for your helicopter. There are many fun and cooperative puzzles where you must help each other reach certain points. Also, it's so cool getting all the way to the top of the building and just seeing how high you are. I do think the rest of the level is a bit stale, with the auto shoot section just being kinda dull, and finishing things off with a pretty lackluster boss fight. There's the Ace Chemical level. The first half of it has you playing as Batman and Robin, and you're trying to figure out why Joker and Lex broke into here in the first place. The second half has the place exploding with Superman coming in to save you. That moment blew my mind away as a kid, and it's such a fantastic way to introduce you to characters with superpowers. I like how it makes you wait for it, so when you finally get to play as Superman, it leaves a big impact. The level is just fantastic in every other aspect as well, with lots and lots of fun puzzles to solve, great platforming, and massive feeling areas. It feels like there is just so much out there to explore and it just keeps going. Most of the time, if a level was this long, I would just say it's overstaying its welcome, but I think this level is perfect for the length it is. It's only this long to make the reveal of Superman feel even better, and it basically feels like a whole new level when you unlock him, just this time you now have superpowers. They could have had the same effect without having the level be this long. And if the first time you played as Superman was at the beginning of the level, it would have been really underwhelming. And having you play basically 50% of the level as Batman and Robin really makes you realize just how many more abilities he has, and really emphasizes how more super he actually is. There are so many more amazing levels, but if I talked about every level like this, the video would never end. So if I had to mention just one more level, it would have to be the whole ending of the game. The story stays strong throughout pretty much the whole thing. There isn't a moment where I wish I could skip this, or think this part isn't needed. Near the end of the game, when all hope seems lost, the Justice League is called, and I went absolutely crazy when this happened as a kid. 10-year-old me did not expect for the whole Justice League to be in this game, and the reveal of them is just as great. It's a shame you only spend 2 levels working with them, but it's so amazing. The first one has you team up with Cyborg and Green Lantern to stop the Joker robot from destroying Wayne Tower. It's a great level with so many action-packed moments, and the part where you're falling off the building will always be iconic. I do think the level is a bit too long, but it's not that big of a deal honestly. It shows just how destructive the Joker robot really is. The level after this is the final one, and is really short in comparison, but it stands out because it has you play as the whole Justice League, well except for Superman, to finally take down the Joker robot. This is so cool. It really helps distract me from the fact that this level isn't great. I love this level a lot because getting to play as the whole Justice League together is amazing, but that's pretty much the only positive aspect of it. Most of the characters have nothing to do, and the level can be beat in about 5 minutes. It's honestly quite disappointing as a final boss fight as well. But despite all of that, the level is still amazing, and something that no other LEGO DC game has really lived up to. LEGO Batman 2 might have some of the best levels out of any LEGO video game, and despite me rambling about them for so long, I still feel like I've barely covered every reason why they're so special. Just the way every level is presented and flows with the story really helps enhance the whole experience. Every level feels exciting, and there are so many of them where I constantly think, I love how they did that part. You'll go through so many iconic locations from the DC universe that all fit in tone for this game's aesthetic. There are lots of new and creative puzzles, the superpowers introduce tons of new abilities, and everything feels so perfectly crafted to flow together. Levels utilize a lot of different camera angles and gimmicks that can help give them a lot more depth. Everything about the story mode is simply amazing, and I might be a bit biased because I adored this game as a kid, and I mean I am a huge DC fan, but that's pretty much what decides everyone's favorite LEGO game. It's kind of like how I don't really like Star Wars, so I didn't really get much from LEGO Star Wars 3, and everyone was so baffled by it because they think the game's amazing, which is most likely because the Clone Wars are kind of what's in right now and people are nostalgic for it, so I mean, I don't know. Of course, the cutscenes now having dialogue do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to making the story mode feel so grand. But the dialogue carries over into the levels, the hub world, and just regular gameplay. It gives this game so much charm that I felt like could have been missing from previous LEGO titles. Including dialogue has opened these games up to so many more options, because you cannot convey this story with grunts and mumbles. Well, you could, it just wouldn't be pretty. And there's always this debate on mumbles versus dialogue. I don't know, it feels like most people say they miss the mumbles because that's what they grew up with. Some of the most iconic LEGO games of all time all have the grunts. But you can tell how limiting it is to tell a story with that. It always felt like the only reason the game stuck with that for so long was because they couldn't afford to hire the voice cast for the original LEGO Star Wars. And when that game ended up becoming a surprise success, they just stuck with it. I think adding dialogue to these games can only be for the better, and feels like a huge leap forward for them as well. But that's not the only reason LEGO Batman 2 is a huge leap forward for LEGO games, because this game added probably one of the best things that would completely change LEGO games forever. The open world hub is something that I feel like most people take for granted. A lot of games these days just straight up expect you to have one, and it's shocking when a game comes out and doesn't include one. Open world hubs were the next step for gaming in general. And what once felt amazing to have your own sandbox to do whatever you want in, ended up turning into dead space, only they had flat out playtime in the game. Open world hubs can help build upon the world of the game. They give you a chance to interact with or simulate the lives of people who live in it. So finally, LEGO games are making this big step. Prior to this, they had small hub worlds that were simply there to give you a place to access the levels in the shop. They worked really well, and with every new release, they would expand upon it. adding more things to do. While LEGO Harry Potter had a huge hub with lots of collectibles, it still really wasn't an open world. You couldn't walk or look wherever you wanted. Everything was in a fixed perspective, so it really just kind of felt like a really big level. The hub world was good, but when it came to things to do or replay value, there wasn't really much there. So LEGO Batman 2 takes things to the next level by having a huge open world Gotham City that's all yours to explore. This is amazing, and like I've said so many times already, completely blew my mind away when I was a kid. I can just run around, drive loads of vehicles, or use one of the new traversal methods like super speed or flight to navigate around this hub world. After a level, you come back to a certain portion of the hub and have to do a task before you can progress to the next level. This helps the game flow a lot better and makes it so you don't have to totally rely on cutscenes to get the story or objective across. Sometimes the hub world will be different only for that one mission, so they went through so much effort animating the Joker robot in the hub only for it to be seen once. The aesthetic and look of this hub world is spot on and oozing with style and personality. I love how when you first unlock the full hub world, you have to go through these checkpoints around the map to see what collectibles are in that area. It forces you to go out and explore every little bit of the city, and it's exciting to see what new things will be available. They also have these charming cutscenes for whatever boss fight is in that area, and I adore these. Of course, many of the iconic locations in Gotham City are here to explore. A problem that later LEGO games have with their hub worlds is that they feel like they were made with the intention that you'd fly or fast travel the whole time. There isn't really a whole lot to explore, and all the puzzles or things to do in the hub aren't made to be played as characters without superpowers. But I was shocked that this game does not have that issue at all. The hub world feels just as fun to traverse as Batman as it does with anyone else with superpowers. There are so many random buildings you can grapple onto or climb up, and it really just makes you want to see what else is out there. So many of the puzzles and areas are built around Batman and Robin's suits. I don't feel forced to use a character's superpowers to make my way around, and characters with superpowers feel just as welcomed as well. The world feels like it was made to be explored and traversed in multiple ways, and that's something that most LEGO games don't do anymore. Not to mention all the vehicles you can drive. There is so much you can do outside of collecting collectibles in this hub world, and it's amazing. You can even go inside the Batcave, and this is where you can access the levels, create your character, and access the vehicles. Some of my favorite locations in this hub are Amusement Mile, Arkham Asylum, and of course the Gotham Zoo. Gotham is split up into 3 main sections, each of its own aesthetic. The first area is the suburb of Gotham City. It has the residential district, Wayne Manor, and lots of little attractions like Amusement Mile and a botanical garden. Maybe you could also consider Arkham Asylum an attraction since it's in that area. The next area is the central area, which contains Gotham Park, Ace Chemicals, and the power station. Over here is kind of like your general city. The last area is where all your businesses lie. We have Wayne Tower, City Hall, and a cathedral. I love the layout of this hub world, and it's just so much fun to explore. The whole story mode in general is a great time, and the way they implemented it into the hub world is something I really love, but the story mode wouldn't be as great without the characters. Throughout most of the story mode, you play as Batman and Robin, but in the last couple of levels, you play as DC's world's finest. The suit mechanic from the first game returns, and instead of reusing suits from that game, they chose to rework them or add whole new ones. Batman's demolition suit got turned into a power suit with a whole new bomb mechanic and super strength. Batman's sonic and glide suit got reworked into the bat suit, allowing you to use sonar and glide. He also has 2 new suits, his sensor suit, which lets you turn invisible and use x-ray vision, and his electricity suit, which lets you walk through electric areas and gives him the ability to use electric panels. Robin's water suit from the first game got turned into a hazard suit that focuses more on using goo to solve puzzles, but allows him to go underwater. Robin's magnetic suit stays pretty much the same, just with a new design, and allowing him to pull on magnetic objects. He has 2 new suits, the acrobat suit that lets him do acrobatics and go into a ball to access gyro panels, and the ice suit that makes him immune to cold areas and can use ice switches. I think they did a much better job with the suits this time around. I'm not saying the first ones were bad, but I think these suits give you a lot more to do in the levels in Hub World, and each of them gives a character multiple abilities. The ones in the first game felt more like gimmicks. They give you one ability to use throughout the whole level, and most of the time the ability wouldn't be to introduce an exclusive puzzle. It was, oh, this one lets you glide, and this one lets you access tech panels. Batman's heat protection suit is only used on one level, and all it does is let you walk through fire. I know the design is really cool, but man, talk about a worthless ability. Because the suits have so many new abilities, the puzzles can have so much more depth. Some of the abilities don't just have you press a button. Like Robin's hazard suit has lots of puzzles that have you sucking up goo and shooting them into certain switches. Or with Batman's electric suit, you take the electricity out of one electric panel and have to find the other one to turn on a device. I think if I had any issue with these suits, it would be with their designs. Some of them just look straight up goofy. The only one I really like is Batman's electric suit because it just straight up goes hard. especially when he's holding onto electricity, and the fact that he shocks enemies when he's holding it as well, just really cool. But they don't just look bad, I think they also just strayed way too far away from their original designs. To be honest, I don't really like their main costumes all that much either. This isn't TT Games' fault, I'm sure they most likely had to make their suits match with the current wave of LEGO DC sets releasing at the time. But they overused the hell out of this Batman suit. And I hate how their suits are mostly made up of one color. Robin's is primarily red and Batman's is black. They clash with each other a lot and not in a good way. You know, with Batman and Superman that kind of makes more sense. But here it just looks kind of off. I've always personally preferred when Batman wore gray and black or gray and blue. And when it comes to Robin, I love having multiple colors like reds, greens, and yellows. Again, this isn't bashing the game or anything, I don't think TT Games really had a choice. Okay, I've gotten way off topic, but just Batman and Robin alone have so many abilities that are used so often in the levels and the hub. Regarding abilities outside of suits, they're pretty much the same as they were in the first game. Now, I've been ignoring this for a long time, but this is the first LEGO game to have superpowered superheroes. And with that, they introduced some new mechanics that are almost seen everywhere in LEGO games today. The superhero that you play as the most is obviously Superman, and he feels so good to play in this game. His abilities are flight, heat vision, and freeze breath. He genuinely feels super to play, especially when compared to Batman and Robin. He doesn't need a suit to use an ability, he can fly, he's invincible, and doesn't even react when enemies punch him. It just makes him feel 10 times cooler. He feels like a genuine upgrade and feels so overpowered. Everything about him is just so charming, like his idle animation, the iconic Superman theme playing whenever he flies, and how he can easily storm through enemies. It's impossible to describe just how monumental this character felt for a LEGO game. We've never had a character like this before, and his reveal when you actually get to play as him is just so Superman. No matter how many times you play through this game's story, it always feels so amazing to finally get to play as him. Near the end of the story, Superman accidentally gets too close to Kryptonite, which carries over throughout a couple of the levels, now losing the ability to fly and having these tired animations. Why do they add so much detail for that? You don't even get to play as him again, but I just love it so much. Something that I see no one talk about is the fact that Superman can use his freeze breath or do super blows. This is the only LEGO game that it's in. It always annoys me how they removed it because it's so much fun to use, even if it's ultimately worthless. Flight and lasers are something so common in LEGO games these days, it's easy to forget just how cool it was when they were first introduced. Heating up gold LEGO objects is in almost every single LEGO game after this one, and the same goes for flight. I love these abilities. The fact that you can now fly around these levels makes it way easier for 100%, and means that these levels can be absolutely massive to accommodate for the height you can get. Superman is the only superpowered character you can access throughout the whole story mode, because you don't access just like until the last level. So the rest of the abilities in this game are only used during free play or for collectibles in the hub. There are only two of them that are really worth mentioning, those being Super Speed and Lantern Constructs. Lantern Constructs are cool, but I wish they did something a bit more creative with Green Lantern because for someone who has a ring that can literally create anything they think of, he's really lackluster, with that being his only ability. As a kid, Super Speed is something I've dreamt about for years in the LEGO game, and it did not disappoint. Although flying is honestly way easier for getting around the hub world, it's just a lot of fun zooming around really fast. And the Flash finally being in a LEGO game basically was the main reason why this was my favorite LEGO game as a kid. The characters in this game are fantastic. Despite the small roster, there are so many great characters. I just love all their idle animations and fighting animations, which really brings them to life. They really cared about having these characters be as accurate as they can be, and threw in some little details. Like how Superman does have super speed, but to show that he isn't as fast as the Flash, they give him the ability to build fast, but not super speed. How no one can lay a finger on Superman unless you're playing as General Zod. The characters are fantastic in this game, and overall make the experience significantly better and give the game so much personality. Combat in this game is pretty much the same as every LEGO game. There are some new things though. You can now grab enemies, or with an extra you can grab your friend. Grabbing animations can be unique to the character, and sometimes they even have special defeating animations as well that I really adore. The other new thing are special moves. After defeating a certain number of enemies, you can use a special move on one of them. This plays an animation while defeating them. These can also be unique to the character, and I like them as well because it gives you an incentive to keep the combo going. But other than that, there isn't anything all that new. Although I do love how if your friends are playing as Superman, you can't grab him because he's just that strong. Overall, the story mode of LEGO Batman 2 is one of my favorites, and it's crazy how big of a leap forward it is in just one game. It went in a direction, at least when I was a kid, that I was not expecting. And honestly, it's really ambitious, and probably TT Games' most ambitious LEGO game behind the Skywalker Saga. The story mode in this game is something that I can never get bored of. It tells a great story, has fun levels, and just has so much charm. Also, I forgot to mention, but the ending cutscene of this game hints at LEGO Batman 3. But now, after talking about this game's story mode for the past 10 minutes, it is finally time to discuss everything that is needed for 100% completion. Now, with the introduction of a hub world, the normal 100% routine has changed. Not in a bad way though. It basically just adds extra content. The first thing I did for 100% was collect everything in the levels. Each level contains 10 mini-kits, a stud meter to fill, and a citizen in peril. There are 15 levels, so in total that means there are 150 mini-kits, 15 stun meters, and 15 perils to find in the levels. The hub world has loads of different collectibles, like 20 red bricks, 35 more perils, making 50 in total, 55 vehicles, 50 characters, and 250 gold bricks. Collecting everything in the levels is insanely easy. It was the shortest it's ever taken me to get everything in a LEGO game. Just having the ability to fly instantly to where you want to go instead of having to repeat a puzzle makes things way faster. While I did enjoy the experience, I did find it to be a little disappointing. There weren't any secret areas or cool new puzzles. I think that's because Batman and Robin's suits carry a majority of this game's abilities. But I don't know, it just felt pretty mindless. It's always a fun time no matter what, but I can't remember anything about it, which shows just how forgettable it was. I don't have anything more to add to it because it was just so simple and bare bones. It was also so easy that I was able to do it in just one sitting. Also, you do collect some of the gold bricks while in the levels. Now, I think the levels aren't as fun to explore as they used to be because of the hub world. The main thing you'll be collecting is gold bricks and red bricks. Red bricks are fairly easy to get because it just involves you interacting with a Riddler or a Joker box, but collecting gold bricks is insanely addicting. Gold bricks are hidden all throughout Gotham City, and there are multiple things you might have to do to unlock it. Solving a puzzle, platforming, flying around in hard to reach areas, or races all give you a gold brick. And they don't take a lot of time, so you can just keep jumping from one gold brick to another. The thing I love most about this is how they all can't just be done by one character. Some puzzles have you playing as Batman and roving around the city to solve one big puzzle that leads to a gold brick. Or it could just involve you being Superman and having to break a gold object using heat vision. There's a lot of variety when it comes to collecting gold bricks, and it's so easy to keep collecting them that it makes it addicting. Although not having a minimap can make it a bit annoying to find, they instead have this weird radar thing that's basically useless. The races were fine. I don't really like races in video games, so this was pretty disposable for me, but it does allow me to highlight how weird the flying controls are in this game. So in the levels, flying couldn't be any smoother. You hold one button to go up and one button to go down. But in the hub world, since you have full control of your camera, you can't really use the same controls. So instead, you control your characters with a target. It just does not feel right, and it's probably the only thing in this game that has aged poorly. This control scheme made me think, oh, so on the Wii version, do you fly with your character by using the Wii motion controls? Obviously not, however, it reminds me of another tangent I want to go off on. The Wii version. So in the last part of the 100% every LEGO game series, it was becoming apparent that these games are getting way too powerful for the Wii. I mean, 5 through 7 had a bug that locks you out of completing the story mode, and you had to configure the settings to use the water spell without the game crashing. Obviously, the game looks a lot worse on Wii, which is fine. I don't really care about a game's visuals unless they're insanely bad, but I bring this up in the first place because of the hub world. The Wii is barely powerful enough to run it, so instead of having the entire hub world, they instead split it up into 3 main sections, and in between them are loading screens. The game is still more than playable, and it's not really a bad thing, I just think it's really interesting. On May 21st, 2013, the game was released on Wii U and had some new features that should have made it the best way to play. The main feature that was advertised was the ability for one player to use the gamepad while the other uses the TV, making it so you don't have to play at split screen. The next new feature was an interactive map on the gamepad, which gave you an actual minimap that would have been really useful. The Wii U version has some pretty cool new features, so why isn't it the best version? Well, despite it coming out a year after the original, it didn't include the DLC. You can't even buy it if you wanted to. Okay, that's something I'll add to later because I've gotten so out of topic here. I just really wanted an excuse to talk about those versions of the game because no one ever does. Anyways, collecting gold bricks is the meat and potatoes of the hub world, but it isn't perfect. I think my biggest issue was sometimes it's hard to find where the huge Batman and Robin gold brick stuff start. it would just take me ages to find out where it starts, or I would accidentally stumble upon the end of one, so I would either have to backtrack or cheat by switching to a character with that needed ability. I tried my hardest not to cheat on these because a lot of them are just really fun and allows you to use the character's abilities to their fullest. But if I couldn't find where it started, the easier solution was just to switch to a character with that ability. But honestly, this is barely a complaint, and having these long platforming puzzles around everywhere means you're always bound to find something to do by exploring. Collecting all the gold bricks wasn't a big challenge or anything, but it was just non-stop fun. Unlocking characters is a bit different in this game. You have to either scan for them and challenge them in a fight, or build gold brick doors scattered around the city. I love having to fight these iconic villains from the DC universe. Even if most of the boss fights are the same, it just makes the process of unlocking them a lot more charming. Building gold brick doors wasn't too exciting. There were a couple of them scattered throughout the city and they required a certain amount of gold bricks to be unlocked, but I always find this as a lame way of locking characters behind progression. The bonus level also requires a certain amount of gold bricks to be unlocked, and it's fine. Just destroy things to collect studs. The only thing cool about it was Clark Kent's ability to change to Superman in the phone booth, and being able to go through the subway system. Other than that, it's really forgettable. Collecting all the characters and vehicles in this hub was easy, leaving me with just perils. And this is pretty much the same thing you do for everything else. Collecting everything in the hub world wasn't challenging, but it never got boring and was super addicting. This also took no time to complete. I 100% completed this game in just 2 days. It went by super fast. I guess Supergirl can be considered the 100% reward in this game, since you need to collect every gold brick to get her, and it's an okay reward. I don't know why specifically Supergirl, but I won't complain, at least they have something. And after 100% completion, things are nice and calm instead of having people running around screaming. But this might have been one of the easiest LEGO games to 100% complete. And that's okay, because it makes this game super easy to just pick up and play. If you were to pre-order this game, some retailers would offer you 10 exclusive characters for free. These characters were later offered as DLC for $1.99 each, titled the Heroes and Villains Pack, which included Nightwing, Shazam, Katana, Zatanna, Damian Wayne, Bizarro, Captain Cold, Black Adam, Black Manta, and Gorilla Grodd. For some reason this DLC was exclusive to Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, not even PC players could buy it. You can mod the characters in on the PC and Wii versions, but I couldn't get it to work. This DLC pack is pretty cool. It doesn't seem worth it by today's standards, and it's pretty different to how LEGO games offer DLC now, but it's still pretty cool. This game released before LEGO games started to use big figs, so seeing Gorilla Grodd as a minifigure just does not feel right. LEGO Batman 2 was a huge game for Traveler's Tales. It honestly kind of helped revive LEGO games. The games weren't failing or anything, but so many critics called them the same. And with each new game's sales never reaching the peak they once were at, it was time to make a change. LEGO Batman 2 might be one of the greatest LEGO games of all time, not only because of its quality, but also because of how it decided to change the LEGO game formula forever. This game will forever be one of my favorites, and I will always share some memories I had with it. It had such a huge impact on my childhood with all the good times it gave me and my brothers. I'm excited to see how all these new things they introduced in this game will impact the other ones. But finally, it is time to move on. LEGO The Lord of the Rings was released on October 30th, 2012, only 4 months after LEGO Batman 2. This game is obviously based on the Peter Jackson film adaptations of Lord of the Rings. And I always thought this was the perfect film series to join the expanding number of IPs being turned into LEGO games. This also gives TT a chance to experiment with a different genre. We've had LEGO games tackle sci-fi, adventure, pirates, superheroes, and now fantasy. Here's a warning before I start though. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I've watched the films and read the books, but that was years ago, and I don't have a strong connection with the franchise. I don't hate them or anything, I think they're great. This is also one of the few LEGO games I did not grow up with. I played it at a friend's house a couple of times, but that's about it. So this will be my first full playthrough of the game. I'm just saying this now because I know that most people's favorite LEGO games come from two things. It's either from a franchise they love, or because they loved that game as a kid. Which is fine, because I'm guilty of that myself. Anyways, let's start the game. The first thing that you'll notice is that this game also has spoken dialogue like the last one, but instead of hiring actors, they use audio from the film. It's most apparent in the cutscenes, but sometimes characters will have dialogue in the levels or in the hub world. Even all their death sounds are ripped straight from the films. Watching these cutscenes is such a charming experience, and they nailed it when it came to balancing the serious story and the humor. These cutscenes are completely rewatchable outside of the game as a more kid-friendly and condensed version of Lord of the Rings. The fact that this is ripped straight from the film is so cool to me, but it has led to a problem. Now, I don't know what the process is like when it comes to mixing the audio for these cutscenes, and I think they mostly did a good job, but there are some moments where the audio mixing just isn't that great. Sometimes the character's audio will be louder than another character's, and they'll also overlap with each other constantly. It's not really too distracting, but if you're wearing headphones, you'll occasionally notice some audio just sounding really off. This isn't really a huge issue, but I just thought I would mention it. The first level drops you right into this huge and epic battle. Well, at least that's what it wants you to think. There's so much going on in the background, huge armies everywhere, but you can't really interact with any of it. This is a spectacle to look at, but what you actually do in this part does not live up to it at all. You're stuck in this tiny square and can't go anywhere. All you have to do is fight waves of enemies. Some of them with gimmicks like having to remove an enemy's shield or take out their stands using a certain sword before you can defeat them. The first half of the level is just really boring, especially when compared to the scene that it's based on. Compare this to the opening of LEGO Star Wars 3, which also portrays a huge battle. There's so much room to run around and explore and do so many different things. The next part of this level is a pretty boring boss fight, with not much going on. You just dodge your attacks until it's your turn to attack. The final part is your more traditional LEGO game level. You move right and do puzzles and platforming with a fixed camera. It's your usual LEGO romp with nothing too out of the ordinary. The level having 3 pretty distinct parts sort of makes it feel really disconnected and weirdly paced. Each part feels like its own mini level. Sure, it brings variety, but it just makes all the levels flow very weirdly. After the level ends, you have to sit through 6 minutes of cutscenes until you actually get to do something again. Maybe it's because I have ADHD, but oh my god, the wait between gameplay is really annoying. Cutscenes are really long in this game, and not only do they have them before and after every level, but sometimes they'll be shoved in between sections of a level, or while traversing the hub world. I enjoyed the cutscenes in this game, but sometimes they just go on for way too long. Anyways, after the level is over, you're placed into the hub, and have to do objectives to get to the next area. Kind of like the last game, the story progresses through the hub world and the levels. But this game takes it to the next level. In LEGO Batman 2, the most you'd be doing is just driving to wherever the next mission is. But this game makes it feel like a huge journey. Since it takes place in a fantasy setting, you're mostly traversing by foot, which makes it feel so much better when you actually make it to the next big area. As you travel further, more characters join the party and they learn new abilities. I think this is one of the best parts about this game is how they handle the hub world progression. It helps this game feel pretty unique when compared with the other LEGO games. And the only other LEGO game to replicate this style is LEGO The Hobbit. It's hard to explain, but this game easily replicates the feeling of going on a long journey. I also love how most of the main characters play differently and act according to their race. For example, elves can jump high and use long-range weapons, while dwarves can go through small panels and break cracked LEGO objects. Even though the hobbits have their own unique abilities, they'll have you playing as them all. Throughout the first movie, when the party's together, there are so many creative puzzles utilizing all the different abilities, and just walking around with a huge party of characters, all with different strengths and weaknesses, really helps hammer the point that this game is meant to be an adventure. It sort of gives me D&D or RPG vibes of how it presents the hub world. Your characters even change throughout the game and gain new abilities. Like when Frodo is given armor, he now has mental hearts, giving him 4 extra hits. The hub can even be changed to day or night. While it doesn't play a huge role in the story, it still is quite a cool feature to have. There are plenty of unique environments you'll go through, some of them having their own gimmicks or random enemies that'll attack you. The hub world really feels alive and just brings a completely different vibe to the city hub worlds we're all so used to. As I said, this is by far my favorite aspect of the game, and I would love to see TT games do more games in this genre. There are forests, small town, huge castles, volcanoes, swamps, and so many more unique locations you just don't see in most LEGO game hub worlds. Each of these locations look beautiful and perfectly fits the vibe and tone of the film. The hub world is always such a joy to explore, and in their second game featuring a huge open world hub world, they really knocked out of the park and showed how unique they could be. But I need to move on and actually start talking about the levels in this story mode. Unfortunately, I didn't really think as highly of them. Many of these levels weren't a lot of fun to me, sometimes being downright bad. Before I go into why I didn't enjoy the levels in this game, I will talk about the positives I had with them. They do this pretty cool thing in one of the levels where you can switch between 2 characters and have completely different camera angles. When Frodo has the ring on, the camera is very close up and he can turn it, while the other characters can see things from a more traditional fixed view. This is a really cool way to show the intensity of photo situation, how he views things differently. They utilize the stage swap feature introduced Lego's Horror Street quite a bit in this game. I thought it was used quite well, but the best way to experience it is in co-op. And I sadly played this game by myself. The fantasy setting allowed for some really dark levels, sometimes needing lights to help see your path. The aesthetic for these levels are great and unique. There hasn't really been another LEGO game, well except for LEGO The Hobbit, that got to capture these type of settings. The item mechanic is probably one of my favorite new things this game has done. You can interact with loads of different things in the ground. Sometimes it could be a key for a switch or an item that you can use to combine with another item. However, the best use of this new mechanic is being able to unlock lots of new weapons and armor. You can use them on every character, but you won't really utilize this until after the story mode. Okay, now I didn't really have any strong emotions for levels while playing through them in story mode. I thought they were pretty okay. Some of them I didn't enjoy, but the majority were fine. As I started to 100% them on free play and really had time to sit with them, I started to notice I don't really think most of these levels are great, and found a majority of them to just be really boring. A lot of them all have the same issues and reuse the same tropes over and over again. Let me make myself clear. During the story mode, I didn't really notice these issues, and it was only after I had to play through them a second time on free play is when I actually started to notice everything fall apart. But I don't think playing them on free play was what really caused all the issues, because the issues were already there, just replaying them again made me notice them. Now I know LEGO games are repetitive and you could say that pretty much all of them play the same, but in previous titles they could use the levels as their chance to show why this franchise works so well for a LEGO game. As time went on and these games progressed, levels got more ambitious with different camera angles, mechanics, and better overall gameplay and level design. It feels like LEGO Lord of the Rings didn't progress the levels in any groundbreaking way. Instead, it stuck them all to the same formula. Sure, there will be some unique moments like this weird wizard fight section and scene swap moments, but apart from that, most levels will follow the same structure. Because of this structure they follow so strictly, levels can't really do anything to stick out. They all kind of just feel the same and slowly blend in with one another. There isn't a Darth Vader or Lost Temple. Every level had me feeling the same. Now I know what you're thinking. LEGO games have been following a formula for years. Why is it a problem now? While LEGO games follow the same formula, each game still tries to be unique to whatever property it's based on. The levels are varied, and you won't be doing the same as the last. There will always be a random vehicle level shoved in there, or something to make it stand out. Instead, this game recycles 3 different kinds of sections that will make up every level. Each level is split up into 3 parts. Sometimes one part will play like the last, or be a different thing entirely. You can tell you're in a new section of a level because a checkpoint thing will appear asking you to save your progress. This whole checkpoint system really makes the levels feel very disconnected. It just makes it really obvious that you're on a whole new section, and I never used this feature. Sure, each section takes place in the same area, but I don't know, it's just weird not being able to go back to previous areas. It basically feels like each section has one overall objective, like one puzzle to solve, or just a boss fight, and then you're just moving on to the next. Even in sections where you go through multiple rooms, you can't go back to where you previously were. Like I mentioned, every section you go through has you pretty much doing the same couple of things. There are hardly any unique camera angles that help these sections feel unique, or even a cool gimmick that helps it stand out. So most of the levels in this game just end up being insanely forgettable to me. There are only 2 levels that I can confidently say that I really enjoyed. How to get a franchise like Lord of the Rings, it makes some of the most forgettable levels I've ever played in a LEGO game. Maybe it's because I don't have a close connection with the franchise, but as you'll see later, I think this game's prequel, LEGO The Hobbit, is one of the best LEGO games of all time. I wish I could say they were trying something new with the levels and ended up failing, but the reason they failed in the first place was due to lack of innovation. These aren't really bad levels, I just can't really remember a single one of them. I sat and rewatched all the footage to see if I could find more to say, and I just couldn't. Here, I will name 4 different things that you'll go through while playing the level. 1. Solving one objective in a pretty large and open area. Most of the time, the camera is pretty far away and in one place throughout the whole section. 2. Following a set path and constantly being stopped to help other characters get past said path. The camera most of the time for these sections is almost at a 2D fixed angle. 3. A sneaking section. These can be in open areas or just have you moving in one direction the whole time. But this gimmick happened way too much to the point where it's its own notable section. 4. Finally, the last notable thing this game constantly makes you do is automated segments. This could be running away from something, running forward, or even falling. But there are plenty of them in this game. Having a large area of one objective isn't anything new to LEGO games. Hey, you could say every LEGO game has an issue of constantly reusing this, but at least you never really noticed it back then. Here I feel like every damn time something like this happens, it's so apparent. I think this mostly has to do with the presentation. These sections play out the same way. Go left or right to solve a puzzle, then vice versa until you can progress. It also doesn't help that this camera is so far away from everything, so there aren't really any surprises. You know what to do before the level starts. So it makes it feel like you're sort of following a checklist of different abilities to use until you can move on. Every time a section like this comes up, you already know what you have to do, because they feel the need to play an in-game cutscene showing you exactly what to do. Whenever you get closer to completing your objective, they constantly just have to stop all gameplay to show you where you should be going next. It's very tiring. This is a consistent problem throughout the whole entire game, and it makes this game's pacing insanely slow. This even happens when you replay the level on free play, even though you've already played this level before. LEGO games have never held your hand this much before. I understand it's important to make sure a kid playing this game isn't confused, but it's a LEGO game. These games are known for being accessible to everyone. Dumbing it down this much is just kind of insulting. As I've said, almost all LEGO games have some of these issues, but it's all just about how it's presented. Camera angles can make a big difference. And since this one is fixed and always makes sure you can see almost the entire level the whole time, it really ruins any need for exploration. While I still think these sections can be fun, it would mostly be because I like LEGO games and not because I thought these levels were great. The next sections have you following a set path with lots of puzzles and platforming in your way. This is the most common thing you'll be doing in levels, following a set path and just keep going with the motions. There are some good ones, but most of the time these are forgettable. For some reason they use this almost 2D camera a lot, which makes this game feel like a side-scroller, and honestly can make the level feel a lot simpler. It's not very engaging because you just keep moving forward, and the only thing really stopping you is finding a way to get your partner to you. The next sections are sneaking sections, and oh my god, these are the worst. Not only are they just downright not fun, but they feel like they go on for ages. Your character is stuck in a sneaking position, so you move very slowly. These levels are stuffed to the brim with in-game cutscenes. Most of the time this is because you're sneaking past a threat, so you have to do something to get them to look away from you so you can move on. But for every little thing that happens, there's always some stupid, pointless cutscene. Like, do I really need to see the horse get scared and run away, even though I saw it 4 times prior to this? Like, I understand the main gimmick in this level. You don't need to keep babying me. This whole gimmick alone made me really hate a certain level, to the point where it's probably one of my least favorite levels ever put into a LEGO game. Dead Marshes. The first section of this level takes place in an open section with the main objective being follow Gollum. On your way there, you will constantly be stopped by fires and have to look for water to put it out. It's insanely boring. You also have very limited space to work with. And if you accidentally walk into the water, you just have to wait for this slow animation to play. You'll be stopped to watch an in-game cutscene for every little thing that happens. The whole first section is so long and tedious because of this annoying water mechanic. So you're just forced to walk on these tight paths and constantly do the same thing. Just find water, walk on that path, put out the fire, and then repeat. Despite this first half being super slow, the next part is even worse because of the sneaking section. You basically do the exact same thing. Instead of putting out fires, you have to hide before some dragon comes and rinse and repeat. This part is absolutely awful and just straight up not fun to play. I don't feel threatened because there's a dragon nearby. I instead feel annoyed because I can't enjoy the game when I'm constantly being stopped to watch a stupid dragon swoop by. Then there's this boring elephant fight. That's basically pointless because the fight is mostly just automated when you get to the enemy. The level is just so boring and tedious. You do the same things over and over again. Stealth just does not feel right in a LEGO game. And if they want to include stuff like this, why not make it a small puzzle in the level? Like how Harry Potter has an invisibility cloak in the LEGO Harry Potter games. I just don't understand how anyone can make these sections fun. And it happens far too many times. The last sections are automated sections. These completely suck. And the fact they've handled stuff like this way better in the past makes me even more annoyed. So imagine the boulder section in the first level of LEGO Indiana Jones, or the duel at the end of episode 3 of LEGO Star Wars. But instead of it being intense, where time feels limited, and it feels like you have to move with precision, what if you just didn't control the character at all, and watched them move as you just sit there and did nothing? Even if you die, the level just continues to move on. Having a level where the camera is close up and you have limited time to get the task done can be a lot of fun, and can make it feel really intense. I don't understand why they did this. This is clearly so much lamer. You can barely move the character and don't even have to do anything, the level will just play itself. These sections could be really annoying on free play, because if you miss a mini kit on accident, you have to replay the whole level again just to go back and get it. Most of the time, sections like this are at the very end of the level, so it was a pain in the ass. It doesn't feel like an epic conclusion. Instead, it's just some time off so I can go do something else. These 4 things are what you'll be doing in every single level. Every level feels familiar, you already know what you're going to do, and it just sort of feels like you're going with the motions. You could say most LEGO games have the problems I have listed, but what could really determine if a LEGO game is good or not is the flow of it. There are so many things just constantly getting in the way of you playing the game, to the point where I would have my phone on me while playing the game. Another thing that messes with the flow of this game is how levels feel like they're split up into sections. Most of the time, it's 2 or 3 of them, but in past LEGO games, you could backtrack to the very start, making these levels feel massive and flow nicely together. In this game, you do one section, after that, you watch a cutscene, and then you're on the next parts, unable to return back to the previous one. It makes things feel like you're simply moving on to the next parts, and they all feel so disconnected from one another. Presenting levels this way doesn't make it feel like there's anything to explore. Instead, if you see something you know you can't do, you already know, okay, so that's just probably for free play. Sometimes different sections of the level can be in the exact same area, making me wonder why they are even separate sections in the first place. Or like there are some sections in the level where I'm just like, why is this even here? Like in the Mines of Moria, the whole first section just has you saving Pippin out of a well, which can be done in about 1 minute. Seriously, what is up with this game and making things that sound like it would be a really fun level and turning it into some of the most boring levels ever put into a LEGO game? Everything is so slow, every level feels practically the same, and is holding your hand the whole time. They aren't necessarily bad, just pretty mediocre. I hate to say that I didn't enjoy the levels in LEGO Lord of the Rings, because I know a lot of people love this game and the franchise in general, but there was just something about them that didn't hit the same for me. I had a fun time playing through the story mode, but that's mostly because of the hub world and how it perfectly puts on the illusion of going on a grand adventure. That's why I didn't realize the issues with the levels until I played them on free play. So in story mode, they were just okay. The levels feel so different in this game. They've lost so much of their magic and are my least favorite part of this game. Most of them aren't even bad, they're just so bland and forgettable. This was the hardest part to write for this review, and I've gone through like 5 different versions of it just to make sure I wasn't nitpicking too much. I really wanted to like the story mode in this game. I mean, it's a retelling of one of the greatest fantasy novels of all time. But while one big chunk of it is good, the main thing carrying you through it is just so bland. I felt like I was in denial and that I was being way too hard. But after spending way too much time coming back to this part in the script, I think I'm pretty confident in what I have to say. Now, I'm not saying this is the worst LEGO game of all time, far from it. And if you think this game is great, then there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not stating this as if it's a definitive answer. This is just how the game made me feel, and what my experience was with it. Different people want different things from their LEGO games, and that's okay. On a more positive note, I really did enjoy the characters and all the abilities they had to offer. As I said, I love how each character has abilities and fit their race. They all feel very unique, and all the different kinds of characters are something I really appreciate. My major issues with them had to be the combat feeling a bit off, and same with platforming puzzles. This game has enemies with shields, and every time you want to take them out, you have to watch an automated sequence before you can damage them. This didn't make me feel like I was doing something cool, it just got really annoying, and yet was just another thing to slow this game down. It's not a major issue, and I know other LEGO games do it as well, but I'm just not a fan of it. Now, something that is actually a problem was the bows. For some reason, they were insanely inconsistent for me. Sometimes they would work fine, but a majority of the time, it would just do nothing at all, to the point where I just could not use bows. I don't know if this is a bug or if this is just how the game is, but it was kind of annoying. And now platforming in this game works pretty much like every LEGO game before it, but something just feels off about the sticky platforms. While in the hub world, they would be very buggy and sometimes just not have me stick on them or act as an invisible wall, not letting me get on top of them. I've never experienced a bug like this in a LEGO game before. The thing I really hate though are golem walls. I'm not sure what else to call them, but these things barely worked. Most of the time, golem would just randomly decide to jump off of it, and they're so damn slow to climb up. I don't know why, but I could just never get them to work properly. And now since I don't know where else I would fit these, it's time to talk about the main new feature of this game, the treasure items. In each level, you can find 3 treasure items, and you can also craft mithril items at the blacksmith. This is so amazing. Not only does it give you more incentive to explore the levels, but it makes pretty much every character customizable to your playstyle. This is by far the best part of this game, and it makes it stand out from every other LEGO game. The items consist of different weapons, armors, or just useful and silly items. Pretty much every item has an ability or two. Hell, some are basically essential to have while playing the game. Instead of having to switch to a certain character to do a puzzle or task, you just equipped an item that'll give you that ability. There are even some items that let you do things faster than normal, like the mithril shovel or fishing rod. Just the insane amount of freedom you get in these items is insanely cool, and would be a reason to have you coming back to this LEGO game for this unique feature, if LEGO The Hobbit didn't exist. This feature fits the whole fantasy setting as well, because most fantasy games are RPGs that have you collecting new equipment on your journeys, and this kind of references that, which is just really cool. But now it is time for me to track down everything I need for 100% completion. There are 18 levels in this game. Each level contains 10 mini-kits, a stud meter to fill, 3 treasure items, and a blacksmith design. So in total, that means there are 180 mini-kits, 18 stud meters, 54 treasure items, and 18 blacksmith designs. The hub world of course has tons of collectibles, like an additional 12 blacksmith designs, making 30 in total, 20 red bricks, 74 characters, and 250 mithril bricks. Collecting everything in the levels was a pretty okay experience. Nothing really too new or exciting. This game follows the unfortunate trend of including fewer and fewer sections in these levels, and instead just has you doing everything you couldn't do beforehand. I did like the addition of finding new items in the levels. It's a new collectible that you can interact with and might give your character new abilities. It's also really satisfying to look at all of the items you've collected throughout the levels and build up a nice collection. These items were a bit tricky to find sometimes, because for some reason there isn't a tracker extra you can unlock for them. Every collectible besides them has something like that, so it's just kind of odd. But overall, the levels took no time to 100% complete, and it was pretty much the same process as LEGO Batman 2. Now the hub world adds a couple of new things to do for 100%. Before you do anything, you'll want to find all the map stones in each part of the hub world. Doing this will reveal all the quests, mithril bricks, and characters you have to find in that area, and where they are. A new thing in this game are quests. You talk to a character and they'll request an item for an exchange for a mithril brick or a red brick. This is a pretty cool concept, and it makes the levels in hub world feel connected. Although I'd love to see him flesh out this concept more. There are also loads of mithril bricks scattered throughout the hub world, which can require to do multiple things to unlock it. These challenges can be races, defeating a certain number of enemies, a platforming section, or a puzzle. I really enjoyed doing this. It was a really addicting experience, just hopping from each objective to the next. It gives you an excuse to explore every inch of this hub world, and it really makes you appreciate it. They also have daytime and nighttime exclusive stuff, and it's cool that you can even change the time of day in the first place. Although it wasn't a challenging experience, I had a great time collecting everything in the hub world. And it's starting to become my favorite part about 100% completing these games. This game is the first LEGO game with a character wheel. Holding a button lets you switch into a specific character from that party or pull up the full character roster. But there is this weird bug that was really annoying when switching characters. For some reason, if you try to switch characters from a Hobbit to someone normal size, it will make you play as a second player and then change them into the character you selected, which can be really annoying if you're in the middle of platforming. I'm not sure why this is a thing, but I just thought it was worth mentioning. I really like how all the mithril bricks you'll be unlocking have a use in this game. You can craft them into mithril items, which can be equipped to your character and are used for side quests. People specifically requesting for mithril items will give you a red brick in return. However, being able to craft and find items just adds another layer of content to this game. Any character can have tons of different abilities. I absolutely love this feature, and I'm glad it stayed unique to the LEGO games set in this universe. The item system makes sense for a game in this setting. It also can help give characters new abilities that make it easier to navigate the hub world, like the horseshoes giving you the ability to run faster. It's so much fun unlocking a new item and trying to figure out what exactly it can do. Unlocking all the red bricks and characters was pretty easy since getting all the stud multipliers took no time. But after that, all I had left was the bonus level, which was fine. just destroy everything in a brick-built Middle-earth. And I would say after that's over, I have 100% completed LEGO Lord of the Rings. But for some reason, one of the levels bugged and said I haven't collected all the treasure items, despite me already having every treasure item in the game. I did some research and figured out this is an extremely common glitch. What you would do back when the game first came out was go on its website and contact support. But you can't do that anymore. Apparently support would just send you a code that would 100% complete the game for you, only if you're stuck at 99%. I think this cheat code was made just in case this glitch happened, but I'm not sure. Technically I already had everything for 100%, just a counter bugged, and that's what was preventing me from getting it. So I still did everything legitimately. But now I have finally 100% completed LEGO The Lord of the Rings. The 100% rewards are 2 pretty forgettable and random characters, and a cutscene if you return to the Shire. The only thing notable about it is that they have a Force Ghost for Boromir for some reason. Guess that's pretty cool. I also wanted to mention that for some reason, LEGO Lord of the Rings is the first LEGO game with Steam achievements. So now as I play through these games, I will collect every achievement, just like those Achievement Hunter YouTube channels. Getting all achievements in this game is pretty much as easy as getting 100%. Most of the achievements will be unlocked throughout that, but there are some you'll have to go out of your way to collect, like completing a level while in co-op, or turning an enemy into a skeleton and then making them dance. It's all very simple stuff and not challenging at all. It makes me wonder why I see so many clickbait YouTube channels saying these games made them go insane or something like that. This game would get DLC like LEGO Batman 2, which originally acted as a pre-order bonus. These packs would add new characters and items, but most of them are pretty forgettable. Also, like LEGO Batman 2, this game would be released on the Wii with the same issues. And this is the last LEGO game the Wii would get. This game would also skip the Wii U because Traveler's Tales was busy completing the next LEGO game, which was already behind schedule. Overall, LEGO The Lord of the Rings is a pretty solid game in TT's LEGO game lineup. Although it's far from my favorite, and I do find it a bit underwhelming, I still think it's a pretty important game for LEGO game history. It's what set the foundation for the much better LEGO The Hobbit. My main issue with this game is that I'm starting to see priorities change. The levels aren't the main focus anymore, and while the hub worlds seem to be getting better and better, the levels seem to be suffering because of it. I really hope TT Games can find a way to balance the two out, because the levels are still a huge chunk of what makes a LEGO game fun. You can have a great hub world, but most of the playtime will be spent in the levels. Anyways, it's time to move on. Before I get started with this game, I think it's important to talk about how it happened in the first place. This all started with the very underrated studio TT Fusion. Originally called Embryonic Studios, I don't know if I pronounced that right, they focus on creating licensed portable video games. TT Games acquired them in 2007, and their name was changed to TT Fusion. Their main focus was developing portable versions of the LEGO games. The decision to hire a whole new studio to work on the handheld versions of these games was probably made after the DS port of LEGO Star Wars 2 was critically panned. Amaze Entertainment was a company TT Games would originally work with to develop the GBA and DS versions of their games, and they were mostly okay. The issue was that they were an American-based studio while TT Games was in Britain, which probably led to a lot of communication issues. Acquiring TT Fusion just made more sense. They were based in the same country and only a drive away. Also, these games were selling insanely well, so to maximize their success, this was probably the best move. TT Fusion's work on the LEGO DS and 3DS games is insanely impressive. These versions could stand toe-to-toe with the console versions and have so many different quirks, like exclusive characters, or Indiana Jones 2 technically being the first LEGO game with dialogue. But I've already made 5 whole videos documenting every single one of those games, and the history of TT Games in the handheld market. So if you want to know more, then I would recommend checking out that series. In 2008, TT Fusion worked on their first home console title, LEGO Rock Band. It was very different from what you usually expect from a LEGO game. It's basically just Rock Band, but now with LEGO characters. It was still a big success for the company, and after the successful release of this game, people at TT Fusion were asked to work on console titles. This made the studio want to work on another console game of their own, so they would soon start to throw their own ideas of what it could be. An open world LEGO game was something that hadn't been done yet at that point, and they decided that their next console game would focus on that. For years, TT Games and LEGO wanted to make a game based on their popular LEGO City theme. With that in mind, TT Fusion started to prototype an open world LEGO City game for about a year. This was just a passion project. They didn't know if this would ever amount to anything, and they just created it out of excitement about their next big console title. After spending a year prototyping in 2011, Nintendo would approach LEGO Group about potentially co-developing a title for their upcoming console, the Wii U. This would lead to Nintendo asking TT Games to develop an exclusive title to launch with their new system. TT Fusion jumped at the offer to finally bring their prototype they've been working on to life. The game was in development for 3 years. At the time, that was the longest LEGO game has ever been in development for. It was a very stressful development period. Everything relied on this game's success. LEGO wanted to do this with Nintendo because for years they wanted to build a strong connection with the company. Nintendo wanted this to succeed because their last console was a worldwide phenomenon. Both companies were heavily involved in the game's development, which was new for the studio. Although the game would miss the Wii U's launch by a few months, LEGO City Undercover would release on the 18th of March in 2013. The game was met with universal praise and was a bestseller on the console, but some people who worked on the game weren't very happy that the game could only be played on one console. This game being an exclusive really messed with how successful it could have been, especially since the Wii U was not doing great. It made this game sort of a hidden gem for a while. While successful, TT Fusion's huge jump from handhelds to console didn't really get a chance to prove why this game isn't just another LEGO game. This is a huge shame because if you ask anyone what the best LEGO game is, they will say this one. Even people who worked on this game said this is their favorite game that they've ever worked on. This all changed on the 4th of April 2017, 4 years after the game's original release. It would be coming to PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Nintendo Switch. And not only that, but with some brand new stuff as well. Most notably multiplayer. The original LEGO City Undercover was single player only, which I still find to be a really strange decision. This isn't a case of the Wii U not being able to run it. The whole story was written with single player in mind, so this must have been a decision made pretty early on during its development. It's a crazy decision because come on, who plays these games by themselves? But with this re-releasing, you could finally experience this game with another player, which is great. There are some other random changes here and there, like the skybox being different during some moments, but the biggest change that everyone noticed was the removal of all the Nintendo Easter eggs from all the consoles except the Switch version. I don't know, I feel like this whole thing is a bit blown out of proportion. Did you really think a company like Nintendo would let those Easter eggs stay in the other consoles? Genuinely, people made this such a big deal. Honestly, this should come as no surprise, it's Nintendo. Speaking of the Nintendo Switch version, it's so disappointing. I understand it's not as powerful as the PS4 or Xbox One, but it runs so poorly. It's playable, but when I do something that I like to call the fire hydrant test, the game can barely handle it. Especially if you play it on split screen, you're in for a nightmare. I'm only so mad about this because the game was originally exclusive on Nintendo console, and was published by them, so you would think they would make sure it ran consistently. The Nintendo Switch runs every other LEGO game with no problems at all. Even Skywalker Saga runs better than it, so it's not even a hardware problem. If this is the only way you can play the game, then it's more than playable. But if you have a PS4 or Xbox One lying around, just get it on there. The only reason you would get it over those versions is if you care about the Nintendo Easter eggs or want to play the game portably. Okay, now since I don't have a Wii U, I will be playing the PC release of this game. So my thoughts and opinions will be on the 2017 version and not the 2013 version. But finally, I will start talking about the game. This game starts with probably one of the best introduction cutscenes I've ever seen in a LEGO game. This cutscene alone feels like it's ripped straight out of a film, with all the cool transitions, having Walking on Sunshine playing, and the camera angles. The editing is also so unique and lively for a LEGO game. This probably has the highest quality cutscenes and story for a LEGO game. Not being attached to an IP, the team was allowed to be as creative as they wanted to. There was no restrictions on characters or how they had to tell the story. The story is insanely charming. The writer, Graham Goring, made sure to make it entertaining for children and adults. There are a lot of references to TV shows and films that are a lot of fun. You could watch just these cutscenes without having any context to the game, and would still have a great time. This game also has its own score made for it, and an incredible cast and crew that bring this story to life. It's hard to not sit there and smile watching these characters do wacky things. The cutscenes in this game are phenomenal and give it so much style and charm. After the first cutscene, you start on Chapter 1. From the beginning, you'll notice just how different this game is. During this time, LEGO games used hub worlds to house the levels. Obviously, as time went on, they would progress and become more than that. But for example, during the story mode LEGO Element 2, the hub world was only there to get you from one mission to the next. It was a very linear structure. LEGO City Undercover breaks that format and decides to do something more similar to the Grand Theft Auto series. Now, this game still has your traditional LEGO game levels, but in between these levels, you'll have to do lots of side quests in the city. Before you play the first level, you have a tour around a police station, go on a police chase, track down and chase the rest of the robbers on foot, and build a car spawner in the country. It took me 50 minutes to actually get to the level. And that's not a bad thing at all. They really expanded on how to tell a story using the hub world and levels. Normally the levels are the main way a game tells its story, but here it's a combination of both. This helps flesh out the world and the story and makes the story mode an unforgettable experience. And an experience that is totally worth restarting all over again for. This also makes it so when you can finally play a level again, it's exciting. You can go a long time just doing random stuff in the hub world before you get to play a level again. But there was never a time when I disliked what I was doing in the hub world and wished I could just move on. There are loads of cutscenes in between all these as well, and it genuinely made for one of the best experiences I've had while playing through a story mode in a LEGO game. It's just insanely addicting, and it's really easy to just start wandering off and getting distracted while doing other stuff in the hub world. LEGO City Undercover has a lot of unique mechanics that you'll only find in this game, and these help it stand out. The big one that was heavily advertised was everything they could do with Chase's police tablet. This was originally a Wii U gamepad, and because Nintendo wanted them to show off what the Wii U could do, the games introduced some features that utilized it. The first is a world map, which acts as a huge sat-nav where you can mark points and help guide you on where to go. The second one is a communicator, where random characters will call you throughout the story mode to help guide you on what to do next. The third one is a scanner. This is the one you'll use the most often. You can scan for enemies, puzzles, or collectibles. The last feature is a photo mode. This isn't really used that often in the game. It is basically just a radar, but you can use it to take photos instead of scanning things. Now, are any of these new features that utilize the Wii U gamepad only possible on the gamepad? No, not at all. The map is probably the thing that would have been the best in the gamepad because it's a lot bigger than just a normal mini-map, but it wasn't something that was absolutely needed to be on the gamepad. As for the scanning and photo mode, sure, when moments where I have to use them come up, it does feel a bit weird, but it's not too out of the ordinary on what an open world city game would have you be doing anyways. Like in some Grand Theft Auto games, they have missions dedicated to you just taking photos of cars. And the communicator thing isn't really a feature, it's just someone talking to you while you play the game and you can't interact with it. It might have been a cooler effect when this was on the Wii U, but I wasn't jumping for joy every time I got a call. I wouldn't even be mentioning it if it wasn't for TT Fusion stating in every interview that the police communicator was one of the big features of the Wii U tablet. But this is about everything you would do that involved the gamepad, apart from a couple of menus. This kind of just showed me how much this game really did not need to be a Wii U exclusive. The big gimmick in this game is that the main character, Chase McCain, goes undercover. And they show this by giving him different outfits based on different LEGO City themes. I adore this. Not only is it a cute callback to all the different jobs LEGO City sets cover, but it's a really nice shake up to the usual LEGO game formula. This game was always meant to be a single player experience. And during this game's whole story mode, you could only play as Chase McCain. So instead of having characters that can do certain abilities, Chase McCain can pretty much do every ability the game has to offer, thanks to his multiple suits. But it can take a while until you unlock a new suit, which makes it really exciting when you eventually do get to unlock one. And it opens up so many different things you previously couldn't do in the hub world and levels. All of these suits have loads of different abilities and idle animations that just ooze with personality. There's just something so satisfying about going around and quickly changing your suit to do one thing and then switching it to another to do the next thing. This feature is definitely not something I could see working in every LEGO game. This mechanic and how you use characters are built around everything else in this game. It's hard to describe how this feature differs from the normal character roster, but it totally fits this more single player and overworld for this game. I also like how the main character really doesn't feel insanely overpowered, and just like a normal person in LEGO City. He doesn't get a special suit that allows him to fly or anything crazy like that. The costume feature is something that works really well for this game, and it's crazy that no one really talks about it, but there is one issue I have with it. Now the character roster in this game is fine, mostly filled with lots of citizens of LEGO City, but they aren't really new characters. These are apparently costumes, so when you equip them, all your voice lines are still Chase McCain's, and they have no new abilities, well apart from Rex Fury's giving you super strength. And while there are loads of abilities in this game, there isn't really a need or want to equip or unlock these new costumes. You know exactly what they'll do before you buy them, so why even really change them at all? I'm glad it's here, I would rather it be here than not. It just feels kind of odd, but honestly it isn't really that big of a deal. It's just odd when you first notice it. This is a feature that helps this game stand out and feel like its own thing, and it fits the whole single player thing they were going for. Combat in this game is pretty much completely different. You'll still be able to smash any LEGO object you see, but when it comes to fighting enemies, it's a whole new thing. Instead of punching enemies like you normally would, you do a takedown on them, or you can grab them and throw them. After you've done that, you'll have a limited amount of time to put them in handcuffs, or they'll get back up again. This is a feature that again works really well for this game. Obviously, Chase isn't your average cop. He's not just gonna kill someone for no reason. So instead of defeating enemies by making them a pile of bricks, you detained them. I also love being able to grab and throw enemies wherever you want. I mean, you can throw them off buildings, which I guess is already breaking the rules, but we'll just ignore that. There's an extra in this game that makes you throw enemies really far, and it's the best thing ever. While the combat can get a tad bit repetitive, it's not awful. And again, I like the shake up for this game. I'm still not done discussing the neat things in this game, but there's just one more, and those are bricks. It's a second currency that you get from destroying objects in the hub world and levels. These bricks are used to make super builds. The levels will occasionally have super build puzzles. This will have you doing different puzzles to collect a certain amount of super bricks so you can craft the super build that progresses the level. In the hub world, these are just mostly used to craft different monuments that are required for 100% completion. The bricks are kind of an odd inclusion to me, mostly because they don't really play a bigger role than what you think they should. Like, it's a whole new currency, but you really don't have a whole lot of uses for it. I don't think they're a bad thing in this game. I like having more things to collect. It's just I feel like they were originally supposed to be more important. Although when collecting them, the sound effect is insanely satisfying. It might just be one of my favorite sound effects created for a LEGO game. I do like how they're utilizing the levels. It gives you some really massive puzzles to solve that all amount to one big thing. But apart from that, it's really underwhelming. Speaking of levels, the levels are great in this game. The game is quite conservative when it comes to the number of levels you get, only having 15 of them, but it makes sure every level feels special and unique. I think my favorite part about the levels was the settings. There are so many really cool set pieces, like on the rooftops of Lego City or a dojo. Many modes from these levels are insanely memorable, and I wouldn't mind replaying them again. I think my favorite levels have to be the Colossal Fossil Hustle, and They All Scream for Ice Cream. The first one takes place in a museum, and it's a really cool level to explore. And you can interact with every single one of them, and they give you a little history lesson on it. Like, they did not need to go into this much detail, and I love it. The second one I love just for the setting alone. It takes place in this ice cream shop that's totally inspired by the bars often seen in gangster movies. It's a really cool aesthetic and vibe, with some nice piano music playing in the background. The levels in this game make you feel like a detective of all the different puzzles you'll be doing. Many levels utilize many different camera angles as well, which is always a huge bonus for me. Every level feels absolutely gorgeous, and just the use of lighting and colors can really help a certain section stand out. Music really helps elevate these levels, like how a little detective jingle plays when you're doing a search puzzle, or how in the final level when you're falling down to earth has this really epic music that makes it one of the best endings I've ever seen in a LEGO game. The score in this game is absolutely phenomenal, and I really feel like it's completely slept on. Just every single thing you do in this game feels like it's from some cheesy cop show because of all the songs that are composed around it. Like, ugh, it's genuinely so good. The levels in this game are fantastic, and I don't have very many complaints about playing them during the story mode. The story mode in general is probably one of the best overall packages I've seen in a LEGO game. It's a really long one, but it rarely gets boring. There's just so much more to do and discover when compared to previous LEGO games. The story itself is something that is really fun to watch, and the cutscenes, the levels, the hub world, and everything else feel so perfectly connected that you don't really get from your typical LEGO game story mode. This game's story mode feels so perfectly crafted that it makes old and new LEGO games feel dated in comparison. It's the first time I felt like the LEGO game formula was changed for the better, and not just to be some lame gimmick. It feels like a good evolution or step forward for LEGO games. Even after playing it ages ago, I'm still thinking about this game and just how fantastic it is. And so far, everything I've said about it has only just been about the story mode, and I feel like I barely discussed all the reasons why this game is so fantastic. So now it's time to discuss this game's main dish, the hub world. Only two LEGO games before this had a huge open world hub, and those are LEGO Batman 2 and LEGO Lord of the Rings. They're both great hub worlds, but LEGO City makes them feel basic in comparison, and the same can be said about a lot of the LEGO games released after this one too. LEGO City is designed as in every city. It's not mimicking one city, but multiple different kinds of places from all around the world. This gives the city so much personality. It's split up into 20 districts, and every single one feels completely different. Despite most of them being cities, all of them look so different from one another that it's impossible to mistake one for another. Apart from the cities, there are rural areas, forests, a space island, and a prison. The city feels alive because of the huge amount of citizens walking around. Just taking in your surroundings, you can hear so many citizens talk about random things with each other, and depending on what district you're in, their conversations can be different. Also, the background noise perfectly replicates the environment that you're in. They did not need to add as much detail to the sound design of the city, especially because you can only really notice it with headphones on, but it's just so insane that it blows my mind away. There are tons of random things you can interact with, like randomly being able to go to a gumball machine and buy a gumball, or being able to ride every carnival ride. It just helps give the city a lot more depth, and I'm surprised no LEGO game has had stuff like this before. Giving you stuff to interact with that's not just 100% is really cool and gives you so much more to do in the hub world. But something that's also really cool is the many ways you can get around LEGO City. Of course, you have your typical cars, and this probably has the best vehicle controls that I've ever seen in a LEGO game. Some vehicles control better in different environments, and depending on what terrain you're on, the sound effects will be different for the tires, which is just a stupid amount of detail. However, some vehicles have many different things you can interact with, like riding the ladder in a fire truck, or towing trucks using the tow truck. This is so cool. Like, this game just keeps giving and giving with the amount of stuff you can do in it that's just for fun. You can also hop in the passenger seat of any moving vehicle, and go on a joyride and take in the city's surroundings, or have a taxi drive you to a specific location, so you don't have to do any of the work. Again, I don't even have to explain why this is so cool. Like, holy shit, I'm just in awe of all the random stuff you can do in this game. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention the amount of land vehicles that just aren't cars, like skateboards, bikes, and even a minecart. Stuff like this really goes such a long way, and shows how much fun the developers had making this game. There's just so much random stuff in this game that didn't have to be here, but is here just because you know they're fun to mess around with in an open world game. Hell, pretty much most of the stuff in this open world has never been in a LEGO game since this one, which is crazy. There are also flying vehicles, and they control the best they ever have. However, they aren't really as accessible as driving vehicles, because these can only be spawned in special areas, and most helicopter spawners are on roofs, so you really have to go out of your way to get one. To be honest, I don't see this as a bad thing, because if you could just fly everywhere, it would kind of make you miss out on all the little details in the city. Being forced to drive or traverse by land really makes you take it and notice how well made the city is. Now, something that's quite annoying with flying vehicles is that you can't land them wherever you want. You can only jump out of it in certain areas, which is kind of annoying. But other than that, traversing LEGO City by the sky is a really cool experience, especially since you don't get to do it that often in this game. It really makes you realize how massive this city is. There are also boats in this game, but I hardly ever used them. The only time I did is when I had to explore a sewer area in the hub world, but I'd rather them be here than not at all. It's another way to explore LEGO City, so why not? The last mode of transportation is trains. You can either just sit back and relax on the train, or use it for fast travels at any district. This is also what made me realize that this game even has underground train stations. Holy shit, why is there so many random details in this hub world? I really like the trains. It's crazy that a lot of open world games avoid them, because they can be a lot of fun to mess around with. I also think it's a cute way of having a fast travel system in this game. If I had one complaint about the game's hub world, it would be not being able to change the time of day, despite the game sometimes having different skyboxes. Some of these look absolutely gorgeous, but it's not really that big of a deal. The hub world of LEGO City Undercover might just be one of the greatest hub worlds ever put into a LEGO game. I feel like it's just really underappreciated with just how much depth and things there are to do outside of just your normal collectibles for 100% completion. Everything about the city feels so well crafted. Just all the little details really show how much love was poured into making this game. It's crazy that this hub world from 2013 can pretty much blow a huge majority of LEGO game hub worlds out of the water. What this hub world really showed is that there is a way to perfectly balance a hub world and levels and make for an amazing package. Now it's time for me to discuss everything I need for 100% completion. LEGO City Undercover is a massive game with lots and lots of collectibles scattered throughout the city. There are 15 levels, and every level has 4 mini-kits, 2 characters, 2 vehicles, 1 red brick, and a stud meter to fill. The hub world adds an additional 275 characters, 90 vehicles, and 24 red bricks. So the total of every collectible is 60 mini-kits, 305 characters, 120 vehicles, 39 red bricks, and 450 gold bricks. Collecting everything in the levels was honestly kind of a boring experience, mostly because of how straightforward it was. There weren't any cool rooms or new and unique puzzles you could do prior. It was simply using a different costume you didn't have access to, and that's it. It was so simple that for most of the levels, I already had most of the collectibles collected from playing through them in story mode, so collecting everything in the levels only took a few hours. It wasn't a bad experience, just really forgettable. The only reason it didn't sour my experience is because the levels are already great, so I didn't mind having to replay them. Now I find it interesting that all of the red bricks in this game are free. Once you collect them, you don't have to spend any studs to buy them, which made collecting all the stud multipliers barely an issue. This is only weird because they did cost money in the Wii U version. While collecting everything in the levels is a chill and somewhat forgettable experience, the hub world is the opposite. Honestly, starting the hub world can be overwhelming just because there are a ridiculous number of things to do. So each costume has 2 specific tasks that you will do a couple of times in each district. Every time you complete one of those, you unlock a gold brick and sometimes a character. There are also free run missions, races, unlocking every fast travel point, building super builds, and building disguise boosts. And for doing one of those things, you'll be rewarded with a gold brick and sometimes a character. There are also random characters and vehicle chips scattered throughout the whole hub world. Sometimes it can be obvious or really annoying to find. Thankfully, this game tracks pretty much all of this for you. You can even sort it by district to see what specifically you have left in that district. In total, there are 16 robber missions, 18 ATM smashes, 22 rocks to destroy, 17 aliens to catch, 20 flowers to grow, 17 cats to save, 20 coffee mugs to drink from, 12 stolen vehicles to catch, 13 vehicles to steal, 17 Rex Fury statues to blow up, 20 flags to place, 22 pigs to find and send them back to the farm, 17 fires to put out, 17 drill challenges, 65 super builds to build, 16 fast travel points to build, 19 free runs to win, 16 races to win, and 17 disguise booths to build. There is a lot to do in every district, but I really like how they structured it. Being able to see what exactly you have to do in every area and what disguise it requires is really useful. The fact that it's always being tracked can be really encouraging to go out and find it. It honestly makes it really addicting to try and collect everything. I would constantly stay up for hours playing this game trying to find everything in a certain district. Only if you like, wait, just let me do one more district before I go to bed. I mean, you're pretty much doing the same thing in every district, but I don't know. I don't see that as something bad. If anything, it just encouraged me to keep going. Just seeing that counter get closer and closer to the total was something that I found really satisfying. Every LEGO game has you 100%ing hub worlds in the same way. I really like how they shake things up here. Now something that is both a good thing and a bad thing is how trackers work. Instead of having arrows pointing you towards where a certain collectible is, this game makes you scan what collectible you want to track. This wouldn't be bad if it weren't for 2 main reasons. 1, you can only track one thing at a time, and 2, you have to be pretty damn close to that collectible for it to be picked up on the scanner. So if something's on top of a building, and lots of collectibles are, then you won't know because they're way too high up for you to scan. Now this could have easily been fixed if they had made it so you could see every item within your district. That way it's not overwhelming you with tons of collectibles, but also makes it to where the extras are actually usable. But I could also see this as a good thing, because if I could scan everything and just head straight for that collectible, it would have made this experience a lot less memorable. You have to really search for these collectibles, but it can make for when you actually do find them really satisfying. When I first started 100% this game, I was pretty annoyed with it. As I got further into it, I ended up really enjoying it. I started to notice the patterns and ended up really liking it. I just really started to learn my way around the city, and was forced to explore every little alleyway to find a hint on what I was supposed to do. Like I said, it starts off as very overwhelming, but it becomes really hard to put down once you've started. Most of the objectives you'll be doing are simple tasks, and that's what makes them so addicting. It's not some really long and boring side quests. I think the only ones I disliked were the police chase ones, just because they could last ages, and if you let the robber escape, you have to restart the entire thing over again. I'm also not really a race fan, but the race and parkour races were pretty fun, even if you just cheese a lot of them by using the spacesuit. Something that did get annoying was trying to figure out how to get to a certain area. This mostly had to do with areas on top of buildings, so you can't get in a flying vehicle and hop on them. It was really annoying sometimes to figure out a way up there, but honestly, it really isn't that much of an issue, and it only really bothered me when I first started playing the game. Also, getting every achievement in this game was really easy. Pretty much just doing what you would normally do for 100%. So there's nothing much to say about it. The 100% rewards in this game are really cool. One is an extra that turns every character massive, and it still lets you ride vehicles like this. It's amazing and probably the coolest 100% reward ever. Also, when you get 449 gold bricks, you get a stud farm, which is pretty worthless at that point, but whatever. 100% completing this game was a fun experience, but it definitely took a long time. It took me 35 hours to 100% complete this game, but I really enjoyed my time throughout the whole thing. This was my first time ever playing LEGO City Undercover, and I'll admit I was scared that this game was going to be overrated or not live up to the hype, but it went way past my expectations, and I can definitely see why people say this is one of the best LEGO games of all time. LEGO games have such a huge appeal because you're able to explore worlds from some of your favorite franchises. What TT Fusion did with LEGO City Undercover was prove that they can develop a great LEGO game without that, and yet there's much more to these games than just the IP they're based on. It's crazy seeing TT Fusion's passion project come to life, and I really wish we could see more games like this. Imagine a LEGO Space, Pirate, Fantasy, or even a LEGO Ninjago themed game based off this format. But due to this game being on a console that wasn't successful, it kinda killed off any ideas for non-IP based LEGO games as soon as it started. Without this game, we wouldn't have gotten the LEGO Mario sets, because the deal only happened because of the bond that Nintendo and LEGO built during this game's development. At the end of the day, it's pretty damn cool that we even got a LEGO game like this. From start to finish, this game is something really special, and I can't wait to come back and explore LEGO City again.
We're talking about what we do for a living, and it actually came up. Somebody said, oh, what's the best game you've ever worked on? What's your favourite game you've ever worked on? And without a doubt and without hesitation, I said, LEGO City Undercover. And my colleague, ex-colleague, turned around and said, I said exactly the same thing. And it's one of those, I think everybody that worked on it, and I said this a few minutes ago, everyone that worked on it enjoyed it so much and had such a good time, and the team behind it, we all just kind of gelled together as a group, no matter what department it was. I hope it shows in the game. I really do, because I think it's fantastic.
LEGO Marvel Superheroes released on October 22nd, 2013, and is probably the most well-known LEGO game of all time. Everyone seemed to own this game. You would go to your cousin's or your friend's house and they would have a copy. You could not escape the momentum this game had. And that's for a good reason. It's a LEGO game I most often see on those clickbait thumbnails and stuff on YouTube. It's literally the second result after Skywalker Saga when you search LEGO video games. This game needs no introduction. It's the first LEGO game based on the Marvel property. Let's check it out. This game starts you off playing as Hulk and Iron Man. Obviously they're not doing the same approach as LEGO Batman 2, where they kind of hype up the superpowers. And that's probably because all of Marvel's most popular superheroes have powers, but it's not really a big deal. What is a big deal is being able to play as the first playable Big Fig in a LEGO video game. Hulk feels so overpowered. Pretty much nothing can hurt him, and he clears enemies with ease. I also love how he can transform from Bruce Banner to Hulk with these insanely well animated animations. I'll talk more about the characters later, so let's just continue on with the level. It's an okay first level. You get access to Hulk, Spider-Man, and Iron Man, which is pretty cool. Spider-Man's web swinging ability is new to this game, and I love it, even if it's not as good as flying. I think my main issue with the level is just way too long. First you have to make your way to Abomination, then you have to fight a bunch of Sandman goons, then clear a path of electricity, and then fight Sandman. While there are only 4 main parts, some of these can go on for a while because you're just waiting for a certain thing to happen. Again, it's not a bad level, just I found it kind of boring. But also maybe because this is probably my 100th time playing it because of how often I played this game as a kid. To be honest, the levels in this game were a pretty mixed bag. There are none I can really say I'm a huge fan of. Maybe it's because I'm not a huge fan of the settings, but I also just thought a lot of these levels really overstayed their welcome. The whole story mode in general is just very long, and I just got done playing LEGO City Undercover. The aesthetics for these levels are also just not very appealing to me. Lots of basic facilities or just generic buildings. Or they have very bright daytime battles. Like, I think a reason why I can't remember a lot of these levels is because most of them just blend in together for me because of how similar they look. I think if I had to pick a favorite level, it would be the X-Mansion. Just because it's probably my favorite location, and you get to play as so many cool characters. But there are some levels that I also just dread playing. Most notably the level where you're Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Human Torch going inside of a Hydra base. I don't know why, but I just find the level to be really boring and slow. and it's also pretty similar looking to the other level where you play as Black Widow and Green Arrow. But yeah, most of these levels are just okay. The Asgard level looks absolutely beautiful. Now while I don't find the levels themselves all that fun, I really did enjoy playing through the story mode of the game. The cutscenes are so charming, and the fact that the story is able to incorporate all sides of the Marvel Universe into one big story is really cool. Something that the other two LEGO Marvel games have failed to do. The characters and cutscenes are honestly what carry this game's story mode. You get to constantly play as new superheroes, and it's exciting to see who you're going to play as next. It actually takes quite a while to unlock the hub world. You have to beat at least the first 5 levels, which could easily take a couple of hours. I always hated as a kid how long it would take to unlock, but now I don't really mind it. I like seeing them set up different scenarios and how you'll get to the next level, and it makes it feel more rewarding when you finally get to roam around the city. Now the hub world during the story mode acts the same as it did in LEGO Batman 2. It's just there to lead you to the next level. But while you're heading there, sometimes the characters will conversate with each other on what they plan to do or comment about their current situation, which is a really cool detail. Now while the levels are kind of disappointing, that's because all of the attention was focused on something else. LEGO Marvel Superheroes Hub World is great. It's just New York, but there are lots of iconic buildings from the Marvel Universe, like Stark Tower or the Expansion. Also, having to skydive from the helicarrier to access it never gets old. Not to mention the fact that you can even go inside of it, which is really cool. If I had to describe this hub world in one word, it would be iconic. Everything about it is memorable. The dialogue from the NPCs, all the vehicles driving around, and especially the music. The nice, calm jazz score that plays while roaming around New York will forever be ingrained in my brain. There's just something so relaxing and chill about it. Just walking around New York with this calming and funky tune playing, it perfectly fits the vibe of exploring the city and collecting collectibles. The citizens walking around will even interact with certain characters and say things about them. If you're borrowing a car, they have different dialogue depending on whether you're a hero or a villain. I adore this hub world. And I know if you were born in 2000s or maybe even the early 2010s, this place is like a second home for you. Now, is this hub world better than LEGO Batman 2? That's debatable. When it comes to just the hub world itself, it's pretty much the same quality. It would really just matter what aesthetic you like more. But when it comes to things to do for 100%, then LEGO Marvel Superhero easily beats it. But I'll discuss that later. This game's character roster is iconic. Just looking at the full character selection is so fun. It's so eye-catching with all the different colors and the way it's organized. I'm a really big fan of it. The main characters in this game have so much life and personality in them. This is when idle animation started to get really great, and the way they walk, fight, or do anything is just so unique and accurate to the character they're based on. Stretchy characters are new to this game and are really well animated, watching them stretch around. Although Mr. Fantastic's fighting animation is kind of annoying, because it always knocks me back. Some characters have the ability to regenerate, like Wolverine, which turns him into this really cool looking skeleton that goes way too hard. Although I always found it kind of odd how Agent Coulson sounds so pissed off when he's talking about Wolverine's regeneration ability.
Sometimes I wish I had regenerating abilities, like you.
And of course, all the cool transformation animations. These are so cool. Although mostly big figs have them, characters like Iron Man and Spider-Man have them as well. And I adore these. And they have become a huge staple in LEGO games. I mean, there are lots of videos you can find on YouTube showing off every transformation in every LEGO video game. The combat in this game is the same as usual, but instead of being able to grab enemies like in LEGO Batman 2, now you can only do special moves on them after defeating a certain amount of enemies. These special moves are really cool. So many characters have their own unique ones. I think Deadpool's is by far the best. He grabs his own target and hits the enemy with it. Characters also have insanely cool fighting animations, a lot of them reflecting their personality. I love how Cap will randomly throw his shield at different enemies, or how Spider-Man can web them up. A lot of characters feel pretty different to play. Although this game was the introduction of pretty much every character having the same moveset, there are so many characters that can just fly and shoot bolts to the point where it's not really special anymore. A good majority of the roster has those powers, which is fine, but it's the start of a pretty bad trend where a lot of characters just start to feel the same. Like, why would I be Human Torch over Iron Man when Iron Man does exactly what he can do and then some? Again, it's not a huge deal. These characters probably do that in the comics. It just ends up making a lot of characters feel a lot less special. On a more positive note, the fact that this game has characters from the Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man all together in one game shouldn't be a surprise, but it is due to how weird the rights are for all those characters. There aren't really a lot of characters in this roster I would say don't need to be here. They pretty much covered all of the main stuff in their first game, which is really impressive. The only weird bit is some characters use their MCU designs, while others just use their more traditional comic designs, and it does kind of clash. But lots of characters have multiple alts in this game. It's weird something that we're so familiar with now in LEGO games that didn't really become a big thing until this one. A lot of the most popular superheroes have loads of different suits, which I absolutely adore. Also, the voice casting in this game did an amazing job. Some characters like Nick Fury or Agent Coulson sound pretty similar to their MCU counterparts. Some characters are voiced by the same voice actors that were playing them in the cartoons released at the time, which is pretty cool. Overall, the story mode is just an okay experience. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. The levels seem to be getting more generic and stale as time goes on, which is really disappointing. While I don't think they're as bad as levels in LEGO Lord of the Rings, I don't find them all that interesting, and really don't have a lot to say about them. The hub worlds and characters are what really elevate this game's story mode. When it comes to playing this game, I always just wish I could skip it and get straight to doing stuff in the hub world, because it's way more interesting. I don't hate the story mode, I was just very underwhelmed by it. So since I have nothing else to really talk about, it's time to actually start discussing everything needed for 100% completion. Every level has 10 mini-kits, a stud meter to fill, and 1 Stanley in peril. There are 15 main story levels in total, meaning there are 150 mini-kits, 15 stud meters, and 15 Stanley in peril. In this game, after unlocking a certain number of gold bricks, you unlock a Deadpool level. Every Deadpool level has a stud meter to fill, a character to unlock, and a red brick to collect. There are 11 Deadpool levels in the game, so counting everything in the levels in Hub World, there are 26 levels, 150 mini-kits, 26 stud meters to fill, 155 characters to unlock and purchase, 61 vehicles to unlock and purchase, 11 red bricks, 50 Stanley in perils, and 250 gold bricks. Also, after the main story mode, there's a bonus level you have to complete. 100% completing the levels is pretty much the same experience like Weapon 2. There were no secret rooms, and it was just an okay experience. It didn't take very long either. It's just kind of sad because it feels like these games are really losing their love and passion for the levels. The bonus level is also just okay. Pretty much the same that it has been for years. Use characters to destroy a miniature LEGO city until you get a million studs. For collecting all mini-kits, you unlock a comic book interpretation of the level, which is actually a pretty cool unlockable. Now on the other hand, I really like the Deadpool levels. These have so much charm put into them. They are short levels that take place in one room, but Deadpool narrating the comic book at the start of every level is just so charming and I love it. The levels themselves are short and sweet. They get right to the point, and I much prefer these over the normal levels in the game. Would they work as main levels? No, but that's not what they're trying to be. These work really well as some extra bonus content. The fact that they made them at all is pretty surprising. The scenarios for these levels are so much fun as well. They aren't restricted to following the main story, so they could literally just be about anything. What I don't like about them is how they're locked behind getting a certain number of gold bricks. You need 200 gold bricks to unlock the last one. By the time you have that many gold bricks, you won't really be using the last extras very much. And I don't like locking extras behind stuff like this because then they're basically pointless. But after you unlock every single red brick in the game, you unlock Deadpool as a playable character, and it's well worth it. He has completely unique animations, and it's just so cool. This game probably has the best unlockables I've ever seen in a LEGO game. They make it really worth your time if you decide to collect everything. Getting everything in these levels was insanely simple. There wasn't that much stuff to collect in them, and since the levels took place in just one area, most of the time you didn't really have to progress the level to collect everything. Now getting everything into Hub World was by far the best part about this game. Like LEGO Batman 2, there are just random gold bricks you can collect by doing different tasks. Now this time including ones that can unlock characters or vehicles as well. They also have massive Sentinel fights, which are so cool. Seeing a minifigure that huge roaming the city just blew my mind away as a kid. Also, all the Stanley in perils are pretty great. Some of them are really elaborate, like having to battle Stanley as Hulk, or saving him from falling off a building. After saving every Stanley, unlock him as a playable character, and he has every ability in the game. As I said, this game has the best unlockables, and Stan Lee does not disappoint. He's so much fun to play as, and can even transform into a Hulk version of himself. It really makes this game feel like a celebration of Marvel, and it makes a lot of sense since he cameos in every Marvel movie. Why not have him cameo in this game? But the huge new feature that would change how you would 100% LEGO games forever was the introduction of side quests. There are loads of people giving out side quests, and there's a pretty wide variety of missions that you could be doing. Like having to find a certain item for a character, finding and returning a missing person, fighting waves of enemies, having to race the character, having to take pictures for the Daily Bugle, escorting a person to a certain location, having to fight a big fig, or having to find missing animals and return them. These are so addicting to do, and these missions just give you so much more to do in the hub world. There's a pretty big variety of things you could be doing, which is really surprising for their first game with this feature. There's some missions I don't really like, mostly the ones where you have to find a missing person or return them, and that's because if you move too fast or if they die, you have to restart the whole thing again. But overall, side quests are a huge step when it comes to stuff to do in the hub world. I have so many memories playing these as a kid. Like the Red Hulk boss fight, me and my brothers would just spawn him in and have him hunt us down. Or the one mission where you had to escort a guy with a bunch of symbiotes chasing you. We had to end up pretending it's like a zombie apocalypse. The side quests are by far my favorite part about this game. They are a really fun time killer, and you're mostly unlocking new characters from them, so it's always a pretty rewarding experience. There are loads of them as well, all offering a variety of different things to do, which truly gives you so much to do in the hub world. This game basically takes what LEGO Batman 2 did with its hub world and makes it even better. Although it does feel like you need to play the flying character at all times while playing the hub world. It's not really a huge deal because the Marvel Universe doesn't have very many characters that don't have superpowers. The last thing I would need to do to 100% this game would do all the races. And they were fine. I don't really care much for these, although they were really annoying to track down because the DLC has a lot of races, which do not need to be completed for 100%. After that, I've 100% completed LEGO Marvel Superheroes. While I don't have as much to say about this game as I did the other ones, this is still a fantastic LEGO game. It just didn't innovate as much as the other games did, and a lot of the stuff I had to say about those ones carried over to this one, and I didn't really want to keep repeating myself. This game would also get 2 DLC packs to add new characters and vehicles, and one that ties in with Thor: The Dark World. Obviously, the best part of this DLC is Dark Phoenix, and is a character I'd play as the most. I feel like she wasn't originally intended as a DLC character, because she has her own recorded voice lines, which is just crazy, and none of the other DLC characters or majority of the main character roster have that. And while there isn't a 100% reward, I think Deadpool and Stan Lee being unlockable characters more than make up for it. But yeah, LEGO Marvel Superheroes didn't take very long to 100%. It was a pretty chill and straightforward experience. While it may not be my favorite LEGO game of all time, I can't forget just how successful this game was, and the ways it completely changed the LEGO game hub world. While I think the game can be a tad bit overrated, I still think it's a fantastic game, and a very important game for TT Games. But now it's time to move on. The LEGO Movie video game was released on the 7th of February 2014. It is a very interesting release. For some reason, as a kid, I was so excited about this game. I think because at the time I didn't have a Wii U, and seeing their mouths move when they talked reminded me of LEGO City Undercover. And I desperately wanted to play that game. So I thought the LEGO Movie video game was going to be just as good as that one. But I was apparently so excited that I entered a raffle I found in LEGO Club magazine to win the game for free. I obviously didn't win, but my mom, being the best mom in the world, decided to randomly give me and my brothers this game on Valentine's Day. But whenever I think about this game, I always think about this specific memory. I thought the game was okay back then. This game is such a weird and random release, but it is developed by TT Fusion, which it's exciting to see them develop more mainline console games. This time not being stuck on one platform. But let's see how this game holds up. Instead of dropping you in a level, this game starts on this weird introduction. It's not a level or a hub world and can be beat in like 1 minute. And I'm not sure why it's here because this could have been told via cutscene. Speaking of cutscenes, this game just uses scenes from the LEGO Movie. And when this was released, the LEGO Movie just hit theaters, so you could basically watch a good chunk of the film before it was on DVD. This was so cool to me as a kid. Seeing the movie come from the same disc as the game blew my mind away. But after that's over, you are dropped into one of the hub worlds, Bricksburg. Something I noticed straight away is that they tried their very hardest to make sure everything looked like it was made out of LEGO. I love how they made characters look like they are moving in stop motion. I think they did this by lowering their FPS, but I'm not sure. It's still a really effective look that even carries over to LEGO Dimensions. I'll talk more about the hub worlds in a bit, because first I want to go over levels. The levels in this game, during the story mode, are just okay. These levels are as basic as it gets for a LEGO game. There's nothing really new or innovative, other than a couple new abilities. Just the design of these levels is so generic. While there isn't really a level I would call bad, there wasn't really a level I would call great either. I mean, unless you're the underwater level, that level was so boring and stupidly long for no reason. I think what the levels do succeed at are being great eye candy. These levels look absolutely gorgeous, and they all have this innocent aesthetic. Like this is all built from LEGO, or at least meant to look like that. But other than that, pretty much every level plays the same. There isn't a specific level I want to point out because nothing comes to mind. These levels are made for the sole purpose of getting from point A to point B. And I guess that's fine. It just sort of makes me feel like this game was made to quickly cash in on the film's success instead of making it because they cared for it. Everything about this sort of has a low budget feeling. After recently playing LEGO games that push boundaries, this one doesn't do anything, and it doesn't even attempt to do anything unique. This game just screams side project. Something to distract us while we wait for the next big LEGO game. Like, what I'm trying to say is, these levels aren't bad, not by a long shot, but bad levels are way more interesting and memorable than just okay levels. You could beat this story mode in like 2 hours tops if you wanted to. The characters in this game are okay, nothing too out of the ordinary. There are some new abilities like rainbow builds, master builds, and instruction builds. I don't know why 3 of the new features I listed are all about building, they were just the first things that came to mind. The instruction builds are the most interesting. They have you find a couple of instruction pages around the level before you can do it, and it plays some weird building minigame. That's more annoying than fun. I do like how Emmett can only use these builds at the start of the game, because he only builds using instructions, and when you attempt to build a more traditional LEGO game build, he just messes it up. But other than that, there isn't anything too crazy going on with the characters. Even the characters you unlock after the story mode aren't really that special, and are filled mostly with filler characters, like having so many different versions of Emmett. On a more positive note, the voice actors for this game did an amazing job, but I don't really have a lot to say about the levels. They're incredibly bland. Instead of having one huge hub world, this game has 4 small ones. Bricksburg, the Old West, Cloud Cuckoo Land, and the Octan Tower. Each hub feels distinct from one another, but there isn't much to do in any of them. Sure, you can unlock red bricks and characters, but apart from that, there isn't anything special. They're all very small, and there isn't anything to go and explore for yourself. They work, but it felt like they had no time at all spent on them, apart from the visuals, which look great and capture every area very well. They don't even have quests or gold bricks to find. It's also bare bones, and even pretty dated when compared to games like LEGO Harry Potter Years 1 through 4, which came out 4 years prior. Just like the levels, I really don't have much to add about the hub worlds. They're just there to hold the levels, and that's really it. I guess it's now time to discuss everything needed for 100% completion. This game has 15 levels, and in every level there are 5 mini-kits, a stud beater to fill, and a pair of pants. In total, there are 75 mini-kits, 15 stud beaters, 20 red bricks, 15 pairs of pants, 69 characters, and 70 gold bricks. 100% completing the hub world was the easiest thing in the world. Nothing was too hard or challenging, no secret rooms, and only having 5 mini-kits in a level made it way faster than normal. The pants feature is actually something that's pretty cool. Every character can wear different pairs of pants that can be found on every level. These pants grant you different abilities like super speed, flight, and farting when you jump, if you're into that. I had a lot of fun messing around with my friend Jackie, trying on all these stupid pants and figuring out what exactly they do. Also thanks to Jackie for helping me run through the levels on free play, because oh my god, it would have been insanely boring without him. But because the levels are already really boring and forgettable, going through them a second time wasn't going to change my mind. The same can be said for the hub world. There's basically nothing to even do there. You have to do puzzles to unlock red bricks, but other than that, you just have to walk up to a character and buy them. It's again an insanely forgettable experience. Something that was annoying was that I bought every character and was wondering why we had a few spots missing. only to figure out there are 4 characters and 4 pair of pants all locked behind cheat codes. The characters I'm fine with, but the pants were just annoying because some of them give you really good abilities that would have been useful when 100%ing the game. And by the time I figured out about the cheat codes, I didn't get to utilize them. But after all of that is done, all I have left is the bonus level, and this is probably the best bonus level ever put into a LEGO game. You're in a life-size bedroom, like Toy Story, and the room is completely filled with 2010s LEGO era stuff. This is so cool, and honestly extremely nostalgic to me. Seeing all of these old posters and marketing materials really just sent me back. And the fact that I owned some of those books when I was a kid, it's so cool. You can spawn in different vehicles from the actual sets, and you get these by collecting all the mini kits in a level. You can even mess around with an MP3 player and turn on different songs. This bonus level fits the game so well, and it's just so charming, and I can't help but love it. You can even see the portal Emmett falls through. The main objective in this bonus level is to collect 1 million studs and find all 10 gold bricks hidden throughout. This level feels massive, and I think it is bigger than all the hub worlds in this game. This is probably my favorite bonus level of all time, and that's shocking coming from such an overall mediocre game. Overall, the LEGO Movie video game is such a weird release to me. While it's not bad, it's not great either. But it doesn't seem like it's striving to be anything more than that. While it's a game I have lots of memories with, I just can't help but associate this game with being forgettable. It doesn't help that it was released after LEGO Batman 2 or LEGO Marvel Superheroes. I don't hate this game or anything, but I don't see why there is any reason to come back to it. I just think it's time to move on. LEGO The Hobbit was released on April 8th, 2014, barely 2 months after the LEGO Movie video game, and 6 months after LEGO Marvel Superheroes. This is absolutely insane to think about. TT Games must have been working their asses off to release 3 pretty big LEGO games, all in the span of 6 months. I mean, this whole era of LEGO games was released within the span of 1 year and 9 months. That's 6 games in 1 year. Sure, TT Fusion developed some of them, but that should not undermine the amount of effort and work they put into these games. This game is obviously based on the Peter Jackson film adaptations of The Hobbit, and this just makes sense, since they released LEGO The Lord of the Rings not too long ago. It's kind of strange that they're choosing to adapt these films before the 3rd one even comes out. I'm sure it's not TT Games' fault, but I can imagine it being weird for people playing the game today, since this is the only LEGO game to end on a cliffhanger. But I'm really excited to talk about this game. For the longest time, it was my favorite LEGO game of all time, and it still might be to this day. Although I am a bit worried if it'll hold up or not, especially since I wasn't a massive fan of The Lord of the Rings. Does this game have the same problems as that one? Let's find out. Starting off in the first level, it's safe to say things are already a big improvement. Although this is far from my favorite first level, it does a pretty good job at introducing you to all the new things in this game. Like how different weapons give you all sorts of new abilities, collecting resources, and a buddy up system. The level starts off kind of slow, with you going through different rooms and solving puzzles using different abilities or interacting with the environment. Things don't pick up until the end, when Smaug attacks. But even then, you're pretty much doing the same thing. Overall, it's a pretty boring level, but it does exactly what it's meant to do. And they couldn't really change it since they are adapting to films. But don't let this first level distract you from how amazing this game's story mode actually is. While playing through the story mode, there wasn't a level that I wanted to skip. There's a lot of variety to what you'll be doing in every level, and the way that these levels totally feel unique to this game really help it stick out. To get this out of the way now, some problems from Lord of the Rings are still present, like the constant cutting of the camera to show you what to do in the level, and occasionally having a section where you sneak around, but they're not as bad here. There weren't very many stealth levels in this game, and I think there's only one where it's the main gimmick. And it's leagues better than any of the times you had to do it in previous games. In LEGO Lord of the Rings, on all the stealth levels, you were pretty much just following a straight path and were constantly being stopped. The stealth levels in this game are actually pretty fun. It has you using different abilities to defeat dwarves, and having a pretty mindless but fun boss fight at the end. A lot of it really has to do with how it's presented. Instead of being far away and the camera is at an angle that almost makes it look like a 2D side-scroller, the camera is up close and you can always see the trolls in the background no matter where you go. The whole level rotates around them, which is a really cool way to make their presence really feel there no matter what you're doing. Even though a lot of the tropes are the same, just the presentation alone really shows you how much of an improvement this is, and it makes it significantly more engaging. Camera angles and the way levels are structured are actually really thought out and help every level feel unique and memorable. You're not just walking in a set path. Some levels have lots of free space to move around in, or unique platforming. And some levels are massive and have so many different things going on in each part that makes it hard to ever get bored. A good example of a level that does this all so well is Goblin Town. Things start off with Bilbo as he finds himself alone in a cave, and he has to try and find a way out. This part is great for many reasons. For one, solving riddles using puzzles is such a fun idea that I love so much. 2, it's a completely different vibe to the rest of the level. And 3, you get to play as probably one of the most forced second player characters ever, Goblin Confused. There's a lot to love about this part, just the environment looks absolutely gorgeous and is a huge contrast to the rest of the level. The dark but also somewhat bright cave and the sort of water aura moving around in the background. The first half of this level is pretty standard, just do some puzzles until you make it to the next area. Now you're with Gollum and have to solve his riddles, and this right here is a good use of them stopping the gameplay to show you some sort of cutscene. You are stopped whenever Gollum is presenting a riddle, and I feel like this is a good way to make sure you're paying attention to the riddle and to show off how great Gollum's animations are. Although the puzzles to solve the riddles aren't insanely in-depth or challenging really, I think it's a unique way to incorporate puzzles into something more narrative focused. It's also a good way to prepare you for all the actual riddle puzzles found in the hub world, which I'll get back to later. The second part of this level has you playing as little dwarves in Goblin Town, in a pretty lame but cool looking boss fight against the Goblin King. I'll say this now, but I don't think boss fights are this game's strong suit. Most of them have you doing the same thing and rely a lot on waiting until it's your turn to attack. This boss fight is no different. The only good thing about it is how chaotic it is with all the goblins and stuff going on in the background, and the dialogue is pretty gruesome for a Lego game. In this section, you'll be switching through different groups of characters and doing lots of platforming and puzzle solving to make your way to the end. I love this part, just because there is so much going on. There are loads of goblins in the background doing work or trying to make their way over to you. You are constantly being jumped by them as well. And you are switching between 2 different parties of characters to help each other get to the end. The level perfectly captures the urgency to leave this place and just how crazy it is. Despite there not being any type of threat that will instantly kill you or make you restart, this level is still able to provoke that kind of intensity. Like you feel like you just need to quickly keep on moving. There are so many platforms to jump on, all arranged in different ways with similar looking wood platforms in the background that almost confuse you about where you should be going. Looking back at the level, it's actually pretty linear, but because of how it's designed, you never really notice or feel it. And that makes it one of the best designed LEGO levels ever. Everything about this part fits together well and makes you feel something. It really shows that just because a level is linear, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, as long as it keeps you engaged. And the level goes out of its way to really hammer home the feeling you should be feeling in this situation. This is a problem I feel like a lot of new LEGO games have. They rely so much on the location to make you feel invested that they sort of forget that the things you do in the level need to reflect that as well. And it's not only this level that does this. So many other levels excel at this feeling. But honestly, this level is breathtaking to play. It is a masterclass on how a LEGO game level should make you feel. The third and final part of this level is probably the worst out of the bunch, only because it's a pretty long boss fight. But it gets away with it because it has this cool falling section at the end. After that, the level is over and it's just so fantastic. I hope I'm doing a good job at conveying just how much better this level feels when compared to a lot of more recent ones. But I think the best way to really understand what I'm talking about is to just play the game for itself. Because man, there are so many levels that perfectly convey what I'm talking about. I would constantly find myself in awe on just how much I was enjoying these levels. Even levels I remember disliking as a kid, I really enjoyed them this time around. There are so many things in these levels that really help elevate them to the top. And I've only really talked about level design so far. Before I move on to talk about other things that really help make these levels stand out, I just wanted to briefly talk about some other levels that I think are amazing. The level in Unexpected Party was one of my favorite levels as a kid, and still is now. It's really simple. Just help set up and plan for dinner as more and more characters enter your house, making things hectic as all hell, and then ending with a cool rhythm game that has you dancing while doing the dishes. I love this level, because despite not being based on some intense action scene, it still feels welcome, and it's a really fun level. The level is calm yet hectic. You're in a nice, cozy home, and despite there being no enemies to fight, the home keeps getting flooded with more and more people, making it feel claustrophobic. As more people enter, you gain access to different rooms, and I find it a lot of fun exploring Bilbo's house up close. The level is also short and sweet, and perfectly gets across what it's trying to do. Another level I wanted to mention was Looking for Proof, which has you playing as Gandalf and Radgast and exploring Dol Guldur. I probably butchered that name pronunciation, but whatever, just leave a comment about it, I don't care. The level starts off pretty normal. You just do puzzles and platforming to make your way to the next area. The next part has you playing inside this dark abandoned castle, and you must use your staff to light the way. This sets the level's dark tone, and I absolutely love it. The next area you enter, you have to walk across this almost maze-like area with an overhead view. I really like this part for the unique camera angle and set piece. The next area has a close-up camera angle, and now you're solving puzzles using your magic. Again, the different camera angles really help this part stand out from the rest of the level. The last part has you walking across these skinny platforms, so you have to slowly balance yourself across them. But I only really bring this level up because I hated it as a kid, but now I actually really like it. The dark tone and atmosphere are completely unique to it, and the game utilizes lots of different camera angles and gameplay gimmicks that keep the level engaging. Instead of having loads of dwarves all with different abilities, they only had 2 characters with pretty much the same abilities, which made them get really creative with the puzzles you'd be doing in the level, with lots of them focusing on cooperative play. These levels and so many others are really well designed, and you can tell how much effort went through them just by looking at them. But there are so many other factors that help elevate these levels. First off, the characters. Throughout the story mode, you'll mostly be playing as a big group of dwarves. Although there are fewer races when compared to Lord of the Rings, the different abilities and uniqueness of the characters completely make up for it. It would be an understatement to say this game has a lot of new abilities. Not only do these new abilities give you lots to do in the levels and hub world, but they also make sure you utilize every character and make them all feel unique. You'll always remember, okay, so this character has this ability. It helps you remember every single dwarf. Their ability is tied to what weapon to use. Now, I don't know how accurate it is to the film or book, but I absolutely love this. It makes it when you are going back 100% that you don't need to constantly switch your character. All you have to do is switch your item and you're good to go. But these weapons and abilities totally feel like they are made with that character in mind. Every dwarf has their own idle animation and fighting style, which again really helps them stand out. It's crazy that despite there being so many characters, I can still pretty much remember what every character does just by looking at them. Their idle animations just help elevate them and shows you their strengths and weaknesses. The same can be said of Bilbo as he progresses throughout the story. At the start, he has an idle animation that portrays him as an anxious hobbit, but once he gets Sting, he has a more heroic stance. A lot of effort and care went into making sure these characters feel unique and like they are ripped straight from the film. There's just so much to do with these characters that really helps make you feel like you're part of a big group always working together. A new ability pretty much everyone of short legs can do is buddy up. And I don't know, it's okay. Sometimes it'll be a thing you have to break or a boss fight that'll require you to buddy up. It doesn't really add much, and the only thing I liked about it is the items that made you hug when doing an attack or skip while buddied up together. But like I said, it doesn't really add much to the game, but I guess I would rather it be here than not be here. What's important is that a huge part of this game's level design was designed around the characters' abilities. It really helped the game from being stale and made sure I would always utilize different characters. A big new feature that is completely exclusive to this game is the ability to collect and use materials. When destroying different objects in the levels and hub world, you now get materials depending on what you're destroying. These materials are mostly used to craft weapons or buildable structures like the ones from the LEGO movie. I absolutely adore this feature. It gives you more of an incentive to destroy everything on the level and explore. I normally do this when playing a LEGO game anyways, but it just gives this game a lot more depth when it comes to how you progress. And if you want, you can choose to basically ignore it and buy all your materials after you complete the story mode. It helps this game feel like a fantasy or RPG, and stand out when compared to LEGO games dealing with other genres. Some materials are used for character exclusive abilities, like the new mining feature, or being able to feed the fat one more food so you can use his stomach like a trampoline. Yeah, that's actually a thing in this game. The majority of the time, these materials are used to build structures to help you progress in the level or hub world. Once you have all the materials, you have to do the same minigame from the LEGO Movie video game. Which I didn't really like, but it's a lot better here because you can control the speed of it, making it go by really quickly or slow if you wanted to. But I really love this feature, and I'm glad it stayed exclusive for this one game. I know some people may find it annoying that it's harder to craft items or do certain tasks, but I don't mind it at all. The last thing that really helped elevate this game's story mode is obviously the hub world. The hub world in this game is so much better than Lord of the Rings. Not only is it significantly bigger, but there's just so much variety, and each area is fleshed out more. Every main area you travel to sticks out and feels completely different from the last. I feel like an issue I had with the Lord of the Rings hub was there was a lot of dead and empty space with nothing really to do. And I never really noticed that until I played this game, because every single area is just so detailed. The atmosphere of this hub world is completely unmatched, and I don't think there's another LEGO game with a hub world like it. If you see an area, you could probably walk up to it, and since there are no superpowers, walking by foot from one place to another makes it feel like an adventure. But there are mounts this time around. At any time, you can summon a customizable pony or horse, and if you get the DLC, you can spawn in an elk or spider. This is a really cool mechanic that I wish was in Lord of the Rings. I don't really like using fast travel systems because I love to explore and make the journey myself, and also because it kind of sucks in this game. In a LEGO game, when you normally fast travel, it just instantly teleports you there. But no, this game wanted to be unique and made it so that every time you fast travel, you get picked up by a giant eagle, and you have to fly through the whole journey. This cannot be skipped, and you have to watch this every time you choose to fast travel. It kind of defeats the purpose of fast travel, because the whole point is to get there instantly. They did not need to have this long ass animation play every time I wanted to fast travel. Even if you fast travel to somewhere really close, it still does this. It's not bad wanting to do something unique, but at least give me the option to instantly fast travel, because after seeing this animation for the 100th time, it's just not that cool anymore. The same can be said for switching time of day. In LEGO Lord of the Rings, you get to choose what time of day you wanted when you fast traveled in the game. But in this game, you have to go camping and sit through this really long loading screen of your characters camping. While I really like the presentation, and I love how you have to actually camp, but it just feels so unnecessarily long. It makes it such a chore to switch the time of day, but I'm glad you could still do it in general, because it's cool being able to see this world in two different ways, and have different quests depending on what time of day it is as well. But those complaints are honestly small in the grand scheme of things, because I didn't really fast travel a lot anyways. In this hub world just might be the greatest hub world of all time. You will explore lots of different types of fantasy settings, like castles, forests, rivers, and villages. This hub world really has everything, and it all looks so gorgeous. There are even interiors now. You can enter random houses or caves, which is just so cool, and I love it when video games have stuff like this. And during the story mode, progressing through this hub world really helps make the experience better. Just looking at your map and seeing where you've came from and all the different places you've gone through is such a cool experience. I guess I'll talk about this now since I don't know when else I would fit it in. But the item mechanic returns from Lord of the Rings, and it's so much better in this game. Not only is the item selection better, but how you use them and access them is a huge improvement. Every item has a description telling you what it does, and they're organized by what type of item they are. This is insanely useful, because there were some items in Lord of the Rings that were actually useful, that I completely missed out on. Also, switching to items is better in this game as well. You can now equip multiple items, and you can easily switch between them by using the triggers. In Lord of the Rings, you have to constantly pull up the menu, and if you switched off an equipped item, you would lose it and have to go get it again. There are still lots and lots of items, and they're probably my favorite part about this game. It's so cool having complete control over your character, and it adds another layer of progression. The items this time around are a lot better, just because I feel like they're a lot more useful. A lot of abilities in this game are locked behind weapons, and you always unlock multiple items that would give you one of those abilities. This makes it where if you really wanted to, you could 100% this game using one character. I really love decking my character out in random gear. It also helps for people that like to make their own custom characters. They can now get them loads of different abilities. Before I move on, I wanted to mention that I do have one complaint about the story mode in this game, and that is all of the quick time events. This game is filled to the brim with them, and it's honestly really annoying. It wasn't fun the first time it happened, and it definitely wasn't fun on the 100th. I would always be annoyed when something like this happened, and it was mostly on boss fights, which is another issue as well. They go on for far too long, and most of the time have you standing still waiting until it's your turn to attack. but these complaints only really come up during certain moments and are easy to ignore because of how good this game's story mode is overall. I really loved it from start to finish. Lots and lots of memorable and well-designed levels, fun new abilities, and so much charm that would leave anyone wanting more. I can only imagine how much better it would be if we did end up getting the last film as DLC, because this game just sort of ends and it feels really weird. But anyways, I think it's time to discuss everything needed for 100% completion. There are 16 levels in this game. Each level contains 10 mini-kits, a stud meter to fill, 4 treasure items, and a blacksmith design. So in total, that means there are 160 mini-kits, 16 stud meters, 64 treasure items, and 16 blacksmith designs to find in the levels. The hub world has collectibles as well, like an additional 16 blacksmith designs, making 32 in total, 32 red bricks, 98 characters, and 250 mithril bricks. Going through and collecting everything in the levels was actually really fun. The best it has been in ages for a LEGO game. Of course, the levels being pretty good do a lot of the heavy lifting, but this game finally adds secret rooms back in the levels. Pretty much every level has one, or some levels have a secret room inside of the secret room. A lot of the puzzles in these secret rooms didn't just rely on you having a certain character, and had a lot of fun and engaging puzzles. Although it was really easy collecting everything in the levels, it was probably the best out of every game in this video. And it feels like they genuinely cared about hiding stuff in these levels. There isn't a whole lot to talk about that I haven't really said before, but I will mention an amazing change. When you press replay, you're now given the option to go to one of 3 different parts of a level. Instead of having to replay to that entire level, you can now just quickly travel to the end or middle of it. This is an insanely useful feature that should have been added years ago, but hey, I'm not gonna complain. It makes going back and replaying these levels so much easier, and each area even tracks what specific items are in that part. I 100% the levels all in one sitting because it was so easy, but that didn't make it any less fun. I had a really great time seeing what secrets I would stumble onto next. Getting everything in the hub world was great in this game. Although there are lots of things to collect, it never really felt overwhelming. And as I got closer to 100%, I would get new extras or items that would speed the process up. The steady progression for getting 100% in this game was great. A lot of things are pretty similar to like Marvel superheroes. You have mithril bricks randomly scattered throughout, lots of quests, and races. Like always, it was super addicting to just keep going around and collecting everything in a certain area. There weren't really any new types of quests other than the custom character ones, which has you customizing your character in a certain way and then going back to the quests, and that's it. I didn't really enjoy these. They were more annoying if anything, and most of the time wouldn't have anything else going on. But for the most part, the quests were probably my favorite thing to do. They help you build your own adventures in this world, and give you so much to do. Obviously, the best quests in this game are the ones for the nightclub troll, where you have to help him build a nightclub. So many quests in this game have their own little stories that I just absolutely adore, and I could never get bored of them. If I had a complaint, it would probably be that I wish I could replay them. Going around and finding random mithril bricks is a lot of fun. With the inclusion of interiors, there is now a lot more to do. It's mostly the same, just doing small puzzles in exchange for a mithril brick, but this game has riddles, as I mentioned earlier. These are by far some of the best puzzles ever put into a LEGO game, just because they're actually challenging. Some of these can send you on long journeys, or have you solving something in a small area. These were so much fun, and something that I felt really fits the world of this LEGO game. It gives it such a mysterious aura, and you never know when you're going to run into one. They also have these cool slide puzzles, which actually have you thinking. And finding things like characters and blacksmith designs was pretty much the exact same process as normal. Now 100% completing this game wasn't challenging. Did it take a long time? Yes. Is it really fun? Also yes. This game, from the very moment you start things in story mode, down to when you get your last mithril brick, is a blast, and a game I could see myself replaying over and over again. This might just be one of the best LEGO games of all time, and honestly a hidden gem. I don't see this game get talked about nearly as much as like Lord of the Rings, and it's significantly better than that one. Obviously, better game doesn't equal better movies, so I'm assuming it's only more popular because people care more about those films. I was a bit skeptical going into this game after playing like Lord of the Rings, but I'm happy to say this game is just as good as I remembered it. Now before I move on, there are some things I wanted to talk about. This game did in fact get DLC, and I don't know, I'm just getting kind of tired of this DLC format. It does not seem worth it for the price, even by standards back then. Just your typical character and item pack. If you want to play as Baby Gimli, then sure, go crazy. But I have nothing to say about this. Getting all of the achievements was pretty much exactly the same as it was for the last few LEGO games. The notable thing is the bonus level isn't required to get 100%, and I didn't even realize there was a bonus level until I was looking at the achievements. The bonus level is okay. You play as stone giants and destroy a miniature Middle-earth. The level is insanely short and you only have to destroy like 50% of it before the level ends, so you don't even get to see everything all in one go. I can tell they really just don't care anymore about these levels, which is kind of sad, but it is time to move on. I have now completed 17 LEGO video games. I can see why this era is by far the most iconic. While it's not as nostalgic as the first era, it definitely deserves a lot of praise for the number of changes it made to the formula. TT Games and TT Fusion proved that they could innovate and change, and showed why LEGO games are still valuable. Although this period was mostly filled with great stuff, you can see their motives change. Slowly but surely, they are starting to care more about having a huge character roster and huge open world hub over the levels. The levels have by far taken the biggest hit. While they aren't bad, they just all kind of play the same, and they don't try to be unique anymore. So far, the hub world can make up for the lack of innovation in the levels, but how far are they willing to go? I now only have 10 games left, which is absolutely crazy. Before I count down what I have collected so far, I did make some changes to the last count. I originally included compass items from Pirates of the Caribbean with the mini kits, but I am undoing that. I also messed up the character count in the complete saga. I said there was 160 characters, but there are actually 126. I'm also going to have a separate list for vehicles, instead of including them with the characters. So now, so far, I've collected 2,703 mini kits, 357 red bricks, 1,911 characters, 448 vehicles, 2,394 gold bricks, and completed 417 levels. I can't believe there are only 2 parts left for this series. Thank you all so much for being so patient. A lot has just been going on in my personal life, and this video took so much out of me to make. I hope I can upload more regularly soon, and I have lots of exciting stuff planned for the future. Let me know your thoughts on these games in the comments, and thank you so much for watching all the way to the end if you have.